Good evening and welcome to the June 7th, 2021 South Lyon Community Schools Board of Education regular meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Mr. Tell, can you take the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Dashner,
I am here.
Mr. Kennedy,
I'm here.
Mr. Schweigler,
He will be late tonight.
okay. I am here, Mr. Abate, Mr. Leftwich,
I am here.
Ms. Younglis Pierce,
I'm here.
Okay, we have 5 members in attendance, and we do have a quorum. Will you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Our first item up tonight is our retiree recognition. Mr. Toth, would you like to take that?
All right, thank you very much. It is a great time of year in some aspects because we get to celebrate the accomplishments of all of our students, but also we have to say goodbye to some staff members, but we're excited for them that they get to begin the next step on their journey. So we're going to call principals and leaders up to the microphone, and they will say some wonderful words about staff that have made a big impact on South Lyon Community Schools, and we will start with Mr. DeSena from Bartlett Elementary. And Mrs. Ailes.
Can you hear me? No? It's on. Sorry about that. I'll just talk really loud. That'll work. So first, thank you for the opportunity to honor Claudia Ailes. She has served the last 30 years for our district, and 29 of those, the last 29 at Bartlett. So I'm extremely proud to honor her. Just a couple of things I want to mention. One is, with her departure, we'll be leaving a huge hole in our staff, because not only is she a tremendous friend to so many of her colleagues, but she has done so much to advance the academic and the social emotional growth of our students. Countless initiatives over the years, most recently Cultures of Thinking. Our social emotional learning with Cub Club has been instrumental in making sure all of our students get that social emotional learning piece. And with that, even with that huge hole, I can't even begin to describe the impact she's had on kids. I have not spent a majority of those 29 years with her, just the last 2, and they have been uneventful. No, even in those 2 years in a pandemic, it doesn't take long to realize why she's such a beloved teacher. Number one is the relationship she makes with kids, and just observationally, I spent a lot of time in her class. I think there are a couple characteristics that she has that make her really stand out unique, and one is creativity. She finds unique creative ways, whether it's through music or animals, technology, to engage her students. So they really do love coming to school and learn. And the second part is humor. She makes learning fun. And even if you've ever spent any time in a classroom, you know that it doesn't always go smoothly. And in fact, sometimes it rarely goes smoothly. That humor is a way to turn things around and make things fun. Just one quick anecdote for the Bartlett community. We announced her retirement to our families a couple weeks ago. And since then, there have been numerous families that have reached out, former students, former parents, just sharing their appreciation, writing notes. And one parent stopped by, they wanted to personally give her a card. And they mentioned a long time ago, they moved to the community when their daughter was in 3rd grade. And they said when they moved here, they were really concerned because their daughter was struggling. They were worried about her. They called her a lost soul. And she spent all 3rd grade with Mrs. Ailes and actually 4th grade as well. And they said it turned around her life. And if that was the measure of your whole career, that you impacted one person's life that way, I think that's some level of satisfaction we'd all take great solace in. But just from that experience, I know that same experience was for countless kids in South Lyon. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you for all you did for South Lyon kids.
Well, I have some special people with me here tonight, my mom and my dad, Joan and Claude Danielson. my husband Mark, and my daughter Molly Ailes. Having grown up in South Lyon, I realized that I've spent nearly 3/4 of my life in South Lyon schools. When I graduated from South Lyon High School in 1980, my sister, Linda Janes, who also spent her career teaching in South Lyon, said to me, "You should be a teacher." And I said, "A teacher? No, I wanted to make a difference, do something to help people in a big way." And teaching just didn't feel like that would be the place for me. Well, 10 years later, I started my teaching career in South Lyon at Bartlett Elementary. Over time, I've come to realize that teachers make a huge difference in the world, one child at a time. Throughout my career, I've made an impact, I realize, on hundreds of people's lives. Every once in a while, I hear from former students, and they tell me something that made a difference to them. But for the vast majority, I will never know. I believe that for the most part, I've made a positive difference in the lives of my students. Teachers have the opportunity to empower and engage their students, and this is something I've worked hard to accomplish in my career. It's kept me changing and growing as a teacher because every class is different, filled with unique and individual children. In fact, that's one of the best things about teaching. It's never boring because it's different every year. Although, I must say this year was a different kind of different. I've had the privilege of working with many great teachers, administrators, and support staff while working in South Lyon schools. I have the satisfaction of knowing that the plans and programs and professional development we worked on together contributed to both the effective and positive learning environment at Bartlett and in South Lyon schools. Finally, I thank you for the opportunity to meet the aspirations of my youth. I feel that I've made a difference in the world and have helped many, many people in many important ways. I wish you all the best.
And voted Teacher of the Year 3 times, just saying.
All right, next up we have Mrs. Sharon Springer and Mrs. Susan Toth from our special ed department.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you Sharon Springer and to recognize her for her dedication to the students and families in our community. Sharon is joined this evening by her mother, Judy Warren, and her husband, John. Give a little wave. Sharon's son, Joey, was not able to make it this evening, but he obviously holds a special place in her heart as well. Sharon is celebrating 33 years as an educator, 27 of which have been with South Lyon Community Schools as a teacher, and 6 years previous to that as a teacher at Eaton Academy. Sharon earned her associate's degree in applied sciences from Oakland Community College in 1988. She graduated from the University of Detroit with a bachelor's of science in the degree of education, and a short year later, she earned her master's degree in special education from Wayne State University. Her education has continued through Eastern Michigan University. Athletics has been a major part of Sharon's life. She herself was a competitive runner and has been a coach for gymnastics, volleyball, and cheerleading. Sharon joined South Lyon Community Schools in December of 1994, and she was hired as a resource room teacher serving Sayre, Bremer, and Bartlett Elementaries. She later moved into Section 504 building coordinator position for the Early Childhood Center, Bartlett, Kent Lake, Pearson, and Sayre Elementaries. This past year, Sharon has ventured into the world of the middle schools as well by covering the Leva Vocali. Everywhere that Sharon goes, she makes a huge impression. In 1996 school year, She was nominated as the WDIV Educator of the Year Award, and it was noted that she never was afraid of breaking the mold for students with special needs. She would research and get creative in order to help them to succeed. In 2003, Wally Harala from Sayre Elementary, he was then the principal, and Jen Murphy, the Sayre teacher, nominated Sharon for the Oakland County Teacher of the Year Award. Listen to Wally's description of Sharon. She's a taskmaster. She knows when a student is making an excuse and when there's a legitimate reason. She's an ambassador. She represents our school well and our school district by being a respected community member. Sharon's been able to give hope to families through her reassuring words, stating that, in a matter-of-fact tone, that their student will survive. And she's a spark plug and a legend. Sharon has served as a mentor to many of our staff members in South Lyon schools, and earlier this spring, she was nominated as a Life Changer of the Year Award. Her colleagues have listed many reasons that Sharon should earn this award, including her willingness to help others. She continues to be a taskmaster and an ambassador and a spark plug. In fact, they call her Sharon Springy Springer. She definitely is a legend. Sharon's career has continued to live into those positive traits for the past years. She is responsible for the effective Section 504 model that our district has implemented over the past 5 years. Her hard work and complete dedication to students in this district has made learning for those with medical challenges possible by implementing practices to help those who know how to respond to a medical emergency. I know Sharon's retirement will cause a few ripples of concern among families and staff members. I can hear it already. That's not how Sharon would do it. Sharon and I have spent our careers together, and knowing a person that long, I've come to realize that Sharon has integrity, and she possesses true character traits that have led her success. She has grit, curiosity, self-control, social intelligence, zest, optimism, and gratitude. These traits are rare and difficult to find in people, and her career has been dedicated to our district. And while it's difficult to imagine life in South Lyon schools without Sharon, we only wish you the best in your next adventures. We hope that you are able to spend your retirement enjoying your family. Congratulations, Sharon.
Thank you, Sue, for that lovely speech. We've known each other a long time, and it's been really, really great working with you. I would say in my career in South Lyon has been so wonderful. I enjoyed teaching special education, testing children, helping them achieve their dreams as they move through a school system with a disability. I really enjoy my job as a 504 coordinator. My son came into the school system, he was one of the first peanut allergies to enter when he was in a kindergarten, and I was on the 504 team at that point. From that point on, we've developed the program. Sue and I talked about coordinator's position, and we fine-tuned this position to make it what it is today. Keeping kids safe at school with all of the many allergies that we have and the learning plans we develop for kids that don't qualify for special education, I feel very strongly about, and I'm hoping that I can come back a little bit and support people who are taking my place and help get things going a little bit. So I want to thank South Lyon Schools, the administration, and the Board of Education for giving me the opportunity to work here. I live here and I work here. I go to the store, I see people I know. And it's really fun to be able to know the community and know the people that work in this district. So thank you for everything, especially for getting us through this very, very difficult pandemic year. We couldn't do it without our strong administration and board to support us in making these tough decisions that not everyone agrees with, but we have to make those decisions. And it's okay, because we have to do what we think is best for kids and safe for kids and adults. So thank you for having that tough task of doing that in a really difficult year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Mr. Mark Thomas and Mr. Brennan from South Lyon High School.
Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Coach Thomas, as he's known in the building. This is Mark's, I believe, 42nd year. Is that accurate? 42 years, so that's a long time. One thing I will say about Mark, we had to get together last week for his retirement. It's very difficult in our building sometimes to get people together, especially retirees. You walked in, we had people there, probably about 100 people that had retired within the last 20 years, all showed up to wish Mark off. The young staff was there. Some of the older staff was there. Mark truly brought everybody together in our building. And not only that, everybody who had retired in our building for the last 20 years was there to celebrate Mark. And that's Mark's personality. He brings everybody together. He's always been a culture guy in our building. Always got a smile on his face. He truly do. Even with the mask, kids love him. The special ed department loves him. Mark works with our co-taught group. He co-teaches our special ed kids, as well as runs an adaptive PE class. I mean, Mark's in his 42nd year. I pop in on a Google Meet in his adaptive PE class, and there's Mark virtually teaching these cognitively impaired students, running them through all their activities impaired. They're grabbing whatever's lying around, and Mark's just fired up as if it's first day. So Mark's always got great energy with that group, and we really appreciate the work he does as well. So when you've been around 42 years, you got some stories. When I first started out, Mark was kind of famous for Agenda Man. Way back in the day, Mark would literally, I'm not mistaken, put on a pair of tights, a cape, and walk around and walk in all the classrooms. And if you had your agenda book, you had a big candy bar. That's back when we started the agenda. And he'd walk in and do the whole Agenda Man thing and start flying through the room. And, like, who is this dude right now that I'm teaching next to? And Mark would literally, he full energy every time walking in, Agenda Man, and he would just go through and do the whole thing. So it was fabulous. And Mark still got the same energy he had 25 years ago when I started today. Mark's left a great legacy. The Redout game is Mark's legacy to the district. That will be something we will have probably forever. Mark started that, and he definitely should be commended in our district for keeping that going. And that will be, again, you talk about leaving a legacy, that will be a great legacy that Mark has left as well. As well as the Scrooge party, I might add, every Christmas as well, which is no PD, no papers, no nothing, just full-out party for staff. So it's my pleasure, Mark. We'll miss him. Again, touched a lot of people. He's had a great career here, and he will be missed in our district. Thanks, Mark.
I also wanted to congratulate Mark on his retirement. Mark went to college as a college athlete to Northern Michigan University, where he earned his undergrad in special education with a minor in psychology. He attended Central Michigan University for his grad studies, and in the past, he served as the president of the Student Council for Exceptional Children. Didn't know that. That's a national organization supporting students with special needs. Around this time, those who worked with Mark, so that's early in his career, would describe him as an enthusiastic person who clearly enjoys being with children. What's so exceptional about Mark is that was a 1978 statement, and it still rings true today. When he works with children, they light up around him. And it's rare to see this type of personality, this trait, and it's very fun to watch. Mark started his career at Harbor Beach High School as a coach and special education teacher. In 1991, he was hired by South Lyon Schools as a middle school math teacher. In the fall of '92, Mark was able to become he transferred into South Lyon High School as a special ed teacher and coach. For 24 years, he was the football coach, leading his team to many championship titles. Mark has been described as having a good sense of humor, and I can say, for most of the part, it was appropriate. But honestly, he exudes a love for life, and he has a presence in the room. In the years to come, it will be hard to imagine South Lyon High School without Mark. I know that he's looking forward to supporting his children and their work as coaches. I want to say to Mark that we appreciate your dedication. 42 years of service is a lifetime, and 30 of those have been with us. You've given your all, and your presence and your positive energy will be missed. Congratulations.
Okay, let's get started. Get things taken care of. No, just kidding. That's the way I am. That's why I roll. Every day I'm very lucky to be in the job that I do. Every day is different. I love the kids. That's why I'm in education. I know people are like, 42 years. I love the kids. I love being with them and trying to change their lives and try to help them, be a mentor to them. Just like Springer said, I also live in the community. My kids all grew up here, went to school here and everything. I've been very blessed in my education of being a teacher and then also a coach. That's what I came to South Lyon. I'm the last one of the originals from South Lyon, when South Lyon first built on 11 Mile Pine Trail, the original. Sorry about you, East. Touchy subject there, but I know. And then we started there, so I really enjoyed that in doing that. And like I said, Sue said, when I became head coach there for the last 12 years, or 15 years, I should say, I started some programs. I did the Red Out. We were the first ones in the whole country that started the Red Out. We were the originals, and after that, it took off, something like that. That was an honor because my wife died of heart attack a year before that, so I did that. Then I also, like I said, I also worked on starting Victory Day we have for the special education students on Saturdays. Coach Henson, who took over for me after I resigned, he's starting to keep in that, just like Coach Mr. Brennan said, we're going to get the Red Out. It's a great togetherness for the school. So there's some of the good things I'm really excited about, very happy. But it's time to go. Sometimes you just need to know, and it's just ready to go. I have two sons. My oldest is head coach at Hazlitt High School football, so I'm going to get a chance to go see him coach, because I have always coached over the years. Because after South Lyon, went to Brighton and coached there. And then my other son's at Michigan Tech. He's a defensive coordinator up there, so I'm going to go see a home game. And I'll be doing it in the UP. Yeah, hey, you betcha. And then my daughter's down in Atlanta, Georgia. She's a research analyst for Emory University down there. So I'm very blessed, and my children are all over the country. So it helps me a lot. I travel with them. I try to do everything with them. But I appreciate the South Lyon Community Schools, the administration, the school board. And it's like, this was a tough year. We all know it was. But, choices had to be made, right or wrong. But we got through it, and we're going to move on. It was, let's not say it's a lost year, but it kind of was a different year for everything. And you just got to throw everything out the window. You just can't be with it. But I appreciate Sue, and Jim, our principal now. That's awesome. Sorry I got to leave, Jim. I do like you. No. And of course, Sue, I've been with her, so I keep the special ed department lively. We have our meetings, so that way nobody gets too high and too low. But I appreciate the community. Like I said, I still live here. Great community to bring up kids and everything. And like I said, the South Lyon School District have been good to my kids, and I always gave it back to them. And like I said, I always believed in wherever I coached or taught, I would live in that community, and that's why I'm still here. And I'm still here. I live with my Bartlett. So I haven't moved. But thank you, administration, the school board, Sue, Jim, administration, everybody. Okay, not physically touched, but I touched them because I've been through a lot of students, a lot of coaches, a lot of players. Of all my years I've been here, figured that out. Well, 50 players times 42 years, that's a lot of players. I've involved with. And like I said, a lot of them have been coaches because of myself, and so it's really nice to see them call me and talk to me and ask for information and stuff. So thank you very much. That's all I can say. Come on, both of you. We got both of you. We need both of you. I'll be in the middle.
All right, Mr. Brennan will stay up there, and our next honoree is Mrs. Frida Jackson.
Trust me, it's just coincidence. Everybody's retiring just after I take over as principal. Purely coincidence. So this sums up Frida right here. So I talked to Frida last week, and I was asking her. She's been pretty private about her retirement within our community of South Lyon. She asked me to kind of keep it under wraps a little bit, so I have. And of course, Frida, the first thing she says is, I'm like, how's it going? And we're talking, and she's like, I just worry about I'm going to put you guys in a bad position in terms of how you're going to find a replacement. And that summarizes Frida right there to a T. I mean, she's about to retire, and her first thought is, I don't want to put the district in a bad position in terms of finding my replacement. And that's Frida all the way. She's just a very giving, caring person, always puts others ahead of herself in the community, in her family, in her job. And when you teach German like she does, I mean, you're a department unto yourself. I mean, Frida is the German teacher. There's not a German department. There's not 6 other people she works with. Obviously, she has the world language department, which she's a leader of, certainly, but obviously when you teach a language like German, you are the German teacher, and I can't even tell you how many lives she has touched over the years, how many students she has taken on trips to Germany, how much culture she has shared. She has single-handedly developed and built that department. When you think German in our school, you think Frida. That's what you think of, because she is the department, more or less. And she has been for a lot of years. So this one's very personal for me. This isn't some teacher that I've kind of heard of. I taught next to Frida for pretty much my whole career at South Lyon. I was B142 when she was right next to me. We started almost the same time. We worked together for a lot of years. A lot of conversations in the hallways, a lot of pop-ins. I saw firsthand how the effect she had on children, how many kids would stay outside her classroom, how often she stayed late and worked with students, and just the impact she had on our student population, and how many kids that she directly influenced over that time and period that she worked there. So I know it's tough leaving in your prime, which Frida definitely is. She's next year and be ready to go. She is completely in her prime as a teacher. I know that's difficult sometimes, when she still has some left to give, and I know that's hard. So I respect her decision, wish her best in her retirement, and I just want to say she will definitely be missed.
Thank you, Jim. Well, oh boy, I don't have my glasses here, let's see. So, when I began the teaching program at Central Michigan University, I had a professor of the methods class who gave us all advice, and there were 3 things he said to watch out for. And he said, he always began with, you may be ready to leave the profession if, number 1, you no longer are nervously excited on the first day of a new school year. 2, you no longer have a hard time falling asleep on Sunday night. And 3, you no longer get a nervous stomach when August 1st hits. So those words resonated with me. I still get nervous the first day of school. I can't sleep Sunday nights. And I do have insomnia that extends throughout the whole month of August. So by these standards, I am not ready to leave the profession. That's why this decision was extremely difficult for me. The COVID pandemic has hit my family extremely hard, and the retirement allowed me the opportunity to take care of my husband, who is recovering from some serious side effects, serious health conditions as a result of the virus. I have taken many students abroad. I think I've done 7 trips in the last 25 years, and I've never lost anyone. Everybody came back safely. I think we had 1 lost passport, but then we found it. We had to turn the bus around and get it. And I know a lot of my students who participated in those trips have remained in touch with me, and many of them have traveled themselves. And I think it's really cool to hear their stories. Just recently, as of last year, I got an email from a student who was over in Germany, and he got back and he had a rather official-looking letter in the mail from a particular county in Germany, and it had his picture. And he's like, I'm not sure what this is, Frau. Can you help me decipher it? And I'm like, well, son, that is a speeding ticket. And evidently you missed the lesson that there are indeed speed limits on the Autobahn. So if you missed that lesson, you weren't there that day. So I don't think retirement really hit me until, this fall when the mornings are crisp. And, I can hear, I lived in Howell, so I could hear the marching band in the evening practicing for the Friday night games, and just that coolness in the air. And I know that's when it's going to hit me. I want to thank the board and the administration and the community for hiring me 25 years ago. And I don't live in the community, but I sent my daughter through the schools. So I'd like to thank the district for allowing, through Employee School of Choice, for me to have my daughter educated throughout the whole South Lyon school system. So I appreciate that, and thank you again for everything that you've given me, so. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Karen Heath and Dr. Michael Lloyd from the ECC.
Okay, this is Karen Heath. Karen, I'm already having a hard time with this. This is going to hit our building really hard. Karen is a GSRP associate teacher. So Karen has worked with our essentially low-income preschoolers and their families. That's how she has spent her career. And I remember just the other day she brought in a stack of her pictures of all the former classrooms she's had, and it went back to 1992. And I could not believe that, just seeing that year on the paper. And just thinking what I was doing back then. I want to tell Karen, she'd probably be happy. When I first started this position, I didn't know Karen prior, and I'd taken over for Kathy Craig. So Kathy and I sat down, and Kathy was going over all of the different responsibilities of the position, and she was telling me about GSRP and how much it included. The oversight from the county, there's oversight from the state, you have people from the county coming to visit the program, and she's going over all this. I'm sure she could see I was overwhelmed, and she goes, you know what, Michael, if you have a question, go to Karen. So I have my notes from the first day I met with Kathy, and I have, it says Karen Heath, and there's a gigantic star next to her name. So Karen would come into my office just on a mission, just always, we need to do this, this, and this. And I was like, all right, Karen, sounds good. Just so we always would move forward with that. And replacing that is going to be such a challenge for us. So those are some of my favorite things about Karen, and like, she's just so dedicated to our building. She's like, Michael, who's going to get there to make sure that the milk gets in the refrigerator so that the children have everything's prepared for them. Now, as organized as she was, just with all our paperwork and keeping our GSRP program in line, my favorite thing about her is her dedication to the students. You could have their staff preparing lunch, the children are getting ready to go outside, just all this chaos of a 4-year-old classroom, and Karen, the child starts to break down or is having an emotional outburst for some reason, Karen would stop what she was doing and in the calmest voice, get down on her knee and then talk to the child and work them through it. She was always able to soothe those children, and it was so impressive. And like when I had a child in my office who was upset, did not want to come to school, she kept coming down and just would talk so calmly to the child and was able to, just went with her so willingly. And she's just such a masterful educator, and we're so lucky to have her. I know that Karen has a lot of great plans for her retirement, spending time with her grandkids, doing some hiking. I think we've talked her into traveling around the state of Michigan. But I really think the thing that Karen probably will enjoy the most about her retirement is not having to deal with me after the Ohio State-Michigan game. After Michigan gets walloped once again, right, Karen?
Well, not having to use Ohio State umbrella when it was raining. And we had to go pick the kids up from their cars.
Oh, she loved it. I loved watching her on the camera outside the building. Karen is phenomenal. She's just dedicated her whole career to supporting such a high-maintenance population, and she's going to be so tough to replace. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for the recognition. I can't believe it's been 29 years. When I started, it was the old community ed building, right where our ECC is now. And they tore that down when boiler broke. We went out to Salem, we went to Centennial, and then when they built the ECC, we were back there. I think we've been there for 21 years. But now it's called the GSRP program. It's been, had different names. But it's wonderful working with these little children
I'm gonna miss them so much, but I do live in South Lyon, and I see the grocery stores, I see the parents and the grandparents, and they're always filled, they just talk about how great, what great memories their kids have of their preschool experience. And it's so good to hear these kids who are going to Michigan and graduating with these great degrees, and they started off in our program. And these are kids whose families don't have much money, but they were successful. And I'm gonna miss working with them, but like Michael said, I'm ready to spend more time with my husband and our kids and our grandkids, and I'm getting old, so I'd rather still be able to do all the fun things with the grandkids up in the mountains and stuff, so. But I'm gonna miss them, and I'm gonna miss the ECC. Michael's been great. The teachers who work there are wonderful. Whenever you needed anybody, they come running. They hear somebody screaming, you have three heads, people with their heads around the corner, do you need help? So it's a great place to work. So thank you very much.
All right, from Salem Elementary, we have Sarah Mae Clark and Mr. Ryan Knapp. I think that's it.
I'm excited to recognize May. I didn't know her name was actually Sarah, probably until about year two, when I think it was actually, I don't remember the detail of it, but her name is Sarah, goes by May, and countless children in her 16 years as lunch playground supervisor with South Lyon Schools, specifically Salem, have had the opportunity to work with, maybe be reprimanded, reminded, corrected, but also hugged, high-fived, celebrated, and cheered on by Miss May. Man, what did you do to me? Some allergies in here. Miss May holds a special place for me. She and I have a very healthy banter that I think her husband Jack may appreciate and be a little jealous of. Because I can say it and she has to go home and Jack has to deal with it. So, but we are excited for Miss May. Miss May and her husband recently sold their home here in Michigan and are heading down to Florida. She recently someone shared with me, she posted recently on her Facebook page, she was excited that this was the last time she was cutting the lawn. And she saw her last snow is what her plan is this past winter. But as we think about our lunch monitors and our playground supervisors at the elementary level, it's Miss May who is out there on the coldest of cold days, the hottest of hot days, the days where like it's this spitting drizzle and she's looking at me going, "What are you doing?" I go, "We're going outside." Because the parents are like, "Get them outside." The teacher's like, "Please get them outside." Now my tenure's not crazy long here for 4 years, but there's not been a time that Miss May said, "Nope." On the coldest of colds, when I had to find the right website that said it was 1 degree Celsius, Fahrenheit, she was out there with her big parka on. You may not have noticed her amongst the 5th graders. But they knew where she was. She knew where they were. And so I am indebted to her because it was a good period of time that we served together. And she took care of your kids. And it's no easy task. When we send, in a normal environment, 3 grade levels out at a time, and she, along with 1 or 2 of her peers, hold the fort down, keep them healthy, keep them safe, and keep them having fun. So I'm indebted to Miss May. I do hope that she's seen, I think, 5 administrators. So we'll see if it's you or what. Because like if I can make it a few more years, it may have to do with you, May. We are grateful for May. She's going to be a huge hole to fill in our lunch staff because there's an element too that she is the lunch staff and she lets them know, she sets the tone for many of our staff. And so I'm excited for May and Jack as they continue their plans in Florida. And hopefully they'll answer the door when I knock on it down there someday. Thank you.
Not much to say. Thank you, ladies. Laura, Marie, I have to tell a story about Mr. Archibald.
I have it here.
He went to our school one day with me and Laura. We're in the Commons. And no tag on, no ID on. Laura goes, whoop! She goes, who are you? He goes, his hands go up. He goes, where's Ryan? I don't know. Who are you? I thought she was going to tackle him. He goes, I'm the superintendent. She went, oh. He said, but you're right. I came in without my ID on.
I won't make that mistake again.
But yeah, not much to say. We are leaving. 2 weeks. I love the school. Him? I don't know.
Just make sure we didn't have anyone else come in, is there anyone else that is here to be recognized? Okay?
I'd just like to say thank you to all our retirees. It's great hearing the stories. I'm sad you have to retire in order for us to hear those stories, but it's great listening to them. I wish you could see the smiles on their faces. Assuming that you guys might not want to stick around for the whole meeting, we can take a brief pause if you guys do want to go out in the lobby for pictures or anything like that.
Are we doing a break? I'm in this restaurant, but I'm sitting around.
I haven't seen any responses. I am, but I'm speaking with both, so. Stephanie's going to both. Annie? Are you going to both graduations? Yes, we're in for this.
Pardon?
Yes.
Are you going to both graduations on Saturday?
Both, yes.
You have plans for lunch or food or meeting in between?
I'm having lunch with Sam.
I assume
We're gonna go, I'm going to take it.
Okay, thank you. You're kind of
Appreciate it, yeah.
well, we've got the same plan. Gordon's graduating, so we're doing lunch with family afterwards.
Okay. That was great.
It is,
Having a kid graduate.
Yeah. Party at Eric's house?
Pre-game? Yeah. I would like all of them.
Hear that, Stephanie? No. Eric's having a middle graduation party at his house.
I should have counted how many years we experienced, but it was like 160 or 70 years. All of that group.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's tough to lose that.
Yeah, they have case studies that day and around it, like did and just like living that.
In lieu of, we usually used to get together.
They're slow.
Do that this year.
Not off the top of my head? Yes.
Yeah, I just didn't.
It's been the
make
dominating conversation.
6:15.
100%.
So if at some point, maybe after the last board meeting, I want to do something.
Oh, wow.
Here at my house. Lynn will bake. Should be incentive enough.
Now, where was that? South Bradford?
Haven't had the pleasure, but I'll trust you on that.
Put in your requests. The dark chocolate raspberry cheesecake, or the white chocolate raspberry cheesecake with the ganache.
Creative differences.
I was thinking either between the graduations, if everybody or some wanted to, or maybe after not knowing at the meeting, our last meeting for the summer.
Oh, no, I took it over.
Something I think would be appropriate. And families and spouses and kids too.
Should have stayed home.
If we want to make it.
We're going to start the meeting back up. The first thing we have on actually the first thing I would like to do is to welcome our newest board member, Stephanie Younkelis Pierce. She was brought on by an appointment last week, and tonight's her first board meeting. So the next thing we have is our public comments. It's the time the members of the audience may address the Board of Education regarding any topic, including items on the agenda. If you are going to speak, please complete one of these yellow cards, and we're going to ask that you hold your remarks to 3 minutes or less. I'm assuming some of you are here to speak, so whoever would like to go first, please step up to the microphone, introduce yourself, and begin your comments. Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Chris Campo, and I'm sure you're all wondering why we're all here today, being that you just sent out an email on Thursday that, in your eyes, should, put us at ease for next year, when in fact it does the opposite, because there's no affirmation in that email that it's going to happen. We're planning to do this, and we're planning to do that, when other school districts have firm action plans in place with firm decisions on how it's going to look next year. I appreciate your email, but that's why we're all here. The trust that you have given us this past year is broken, okay? Let's take a little walk down memory lane to where we were last year. This community was surveyed on whether we wanted face-to-face or virtual, and 80% of this community said we wanted face-to-face. Then you sent out another sneaky little survey, twisted the words, and asked if we would be okay with starting virtual. You then twisted that and said that the families had changed their minds and wanted virtual schooling. That was not the case. And from that point on, our voices were never heard. This community begged and pleaded and asked and sent emails and came to meetings and held rallies and did everything to no avail, nothing from you guys. In fact, we weren't allowed to return to school until about February. And it was 2 weeks after spring break, because the community was told we would be irresponsible on spring break and we would come back filling the school with COVID. Okay, so the way that you guys are treating this community is terrible, okay? We've got no voices. The environment in the school this year is sickening, okay? The kids are policed like it's an FBI takedown every day with the masks. Pull your mask up. Get your mask up under your nose. Get your mask up over your nose. Pull your mask up. Don't stand and talk to anybody. When you're done chewing, pull your mask up. My son got stopped from talking to his own sister. Can barely have a conversation. You gotta leave the school immediately because what would that do? That would give people COVID. You can't stand and talk to your friends because that would give people COVID. Can't have chemistry experiments because that would give people COVID. It's a nightmare. Then we've got teachers double masked, vaccinated, sitting in plastic bubbles. My kids have 2 teachers in this fashion, sitting in a plastic bubble. One of the teachers sits at the back of the classroom in a bubble with tape around his desk because he won't speak to the kids in front of their faces. He actually teaches to the back of their heads.
Mrs. Campo, the 3 minutes is up. If you could wrap up, please.
Well, let me just say 2 more things. This has to stop, okay? This has to end. I've said it before, it's your job to structure the school that's a safe place and a benefit for the students. You've got to fight for this. You've got to advocate for our students. Public comment is not on your agenda, and it's not partnering with parents. I might suggest getting a parent advocacy board or a parent advocacy group to work with you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Catherine Macheski. I've been a resident of South Lyon for the last 22 years. I've had 2 children graduate from South Lyon East High School. My 3rd son will graduate next year, so he'll be an upcoming senior. Piggybacking on just what Chris said, I totally agree with everything that she said. And you hear people, and we know it's a hard job. We know you guys have a hard job. And we always say, we want what's best for the kids. We want what's best for the kids. We really want what's best for your kids. Do you guys think back, and are you really promoting what's best for our kids? I feel there's so much fear mongering that has been going on. We know COVID is real, but look at where we're at, and if we can't get back to anybody and everybody that wants to be vaccinated has the opportunity, especially Michigan. They're saying you can go in. I've been to Walmart. People walk in. You have the opportunity to get vaccinated. So I don't understand why the whole thing about people that don't want to get vaccinated, hey, that's their choice, and they know if they get COVID, maybe something bad's going to happen to them. But it's got to be that's their personal choice right now. So and I think majority of teachers are vaccinated. So to have a teacher that's vaccinated and says, I'm scared of the kids, I'm scared of getting COVID from the kids. Do you guys all believe in science? Do we believe that these vaccines work? We should, and we should follow the science. We've been saying that from day one, and I just feel, as a parent, we're not following that science. I have a kid that's in OSTC. I spoke the last time, a couple months ago at a board meeting, that he's in OSTC. His school year was kind of a lost school year, what Mr. Thomas has said. It kind of was a lost school year. He was supposed to have 15 hours a week of OSTC. In this whole year, he had, once he got it face-to-face, like in October, he had 2 days of 2.5 hours. He should have had 15 hours a week. He had 5 hours a week. So you can't tell me that my kid hasn't lost out on their education. And with the whole block schedule, the 2 days on, 2 days for his academics, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th hour, again, I'm going to say what I said the last time. It's making these kids lazy and not want to go to school. These kids need to be in the classroom. They need to be with their friends. Have the mask optional. The kids aren't the spreaders. Follow the science. Please, 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 please. Do this for our kids. And I understand the teachers are scared, but all those teachers can be vaccinated, and I think most of them are, right? So yeah, they might get sick. People might get COVID. But now if you got the vaccine, they say the percentage of that you're gonna be hospitalized or die, 0. So you've gotta get to a percentage. We're always gonna have COVID. It's gonna be here just like the flu. We're not gonna get away from it. So if you think you want 0 cases and 0 deaths and 0 sicknesses, it ain't gonna happen. And we have to live our lives and let these kids live their lives. That's it. Thank you, and thank you guys, because I said I know, it's a hard job, but thank you.
Who's next? I figure there's more of you that want to speak.
I'd like to.
Sure.
I want to thank everyone.
Thank you.
For listening to all of our words today. I had a great conversation with Mr. Archibald back in, I believe, April. I'm Sonia Tofel. I have a daughter at South Lyon High. She's a senior. I also have a son that is a first grader at Brummer. Love the teachers, love the district. Had a great conversation with Mrs. Cooper as well. I'd like to see the mask removed off of our children's face. I'm a dental hygienist. I cover up my face. I wear a face shield whether you're vaccinated or not. I believe we can get back and we can do this, but I don't agree with mold growing to where I can't sanitize my son's masks. I'm cleaning them. I am a clean freak. I'm a neat freak. There's mold. It's obvious. It's not coming out. I don't know if you can see them. I know you don't want to touch them, but we had a quarantine that didn't go well. My son was quarantined and he shouldn't have been. He had a last contact April 12th, so it was stated, on a Monday, which he was not in school April 12th. We got back on that day from spring break, right? He didn't proceed to school until April 13th. Last contact he had with the student was March 30th. He got neglectfully quarantined, missed a lot of his education. He's already behind. He has specials. He missed his reading specials. It was devastating to me. I am sorry for the people that lost people of COVID, but I understand it's not going to go away. I've been back at work since June 20th. I gear up. I go to work. I have a passion. I love what I do. I know the teachers love what they do. There's a way we can do this to keep everyone safe and move forward from this. My son was severely ill in 2018 with influenza, hospitalized, almost lost my son at 5 years old, okay? That's my story. That's my COVID story. Nobody gave a rat's patushki because nobody knew about anything like this, right? He was at Mott for 4 days. We were fighting for his life. His kidneys were shutting down and he was paralyzed from the waist down. He went back to ECC a week later. 7 days, less than 7 days. He could have given that to everyone. Did we lose anyone in the district that year? We didn't. So please, please get these off of our kids' faces. I'm compromised. I have a heart condition. My husband is type 1 diabetic. He has been working since March 20th. He's a federal officer at a federal prison with COVID inmates. Please, please, this is serious. We're still here. We're all still living. Let's all work together and be one. And I know we can be because you communicated with me. I had to call you twice, but you did it, and we had a great conversation. I have faith in you. Please, please listen to us. Please, I'm begging you. Thank you for your time, and I love our teachers, and I love this district. And I didn't move here in 2014 to have this happen. I had my daughter in private school, and it was wonderful, but I knew this district was the best. I knew it. I always heard of it. I left Livonia. I love Livonia, and I left it because of the schools here and all of you. Please listen to us. We can only do it if we work together, right? We talked about that. Okay? Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
I wasn't planning on it.
Don't
but
sound so reluctant.
Well,
Thank you.
Chris. Hi, I'm Tammy Oliver. I have a senior at South Lyon East and a sophomore. And basically, in a nutshell, I totally am on board with the last three speakers. I'm here to just state that. I just feel like the kids need to be free of the masks at the very least for the start of next school year. I know there's a lot of checklists that we have to go through for all the protocols, but I am praying that they can just go to school and smile and breathe fresh air and not be in a mask. I mean, if you want to keep all the extras, here and there. It just should be, it has to be all or nothing. And if people want to stay virtual, then stay virtual. If they're too scared to be around people without a mask. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Holly Neal. I have 2 kids at Brummer Elementary. And I think this whole year, all we've heard is we have good mitigation strategies. But it comes down to what about the kids? There's been senseless quarantines, poor staffing models, ultimately poor planning being front and center. So what will you change for next year? I'm sick of hearing we're following the Oakland County Health Department guidelines. Yes, I received the email saying that kids are going to go back to the lunchroom and that the barriers will be done away with. But why didn't we do that sooner? Will the students still be dismissing 30 minutes early every day? Why couldn't the kids go to the library a month ago? Why can't they go to the lunchroom a month ago? My guess is, once again, our mitigation strategies are working, so why change? But what about the kids? My 8-year-old son hates school. He doesn't leave his desk chair for about 7 hours when he doesn't have the specials. He's not allowed to socialize with others. His few books in his book bags have never been changed because the teacher's afraid of COVID. He doesn't sing in music class, but our mitigation strategies are working, right? So why change? Is he supposed to like school? When do you begin focusing on the students and less on the mitigation strategies? You may not intend school to be set up this way, but these teachers need guidance on how to set up their classrooms, what items can be shared, creative ways to have these kids socialize, as that's the goal for these younger kids. If the teacher's too afraid to get close to the kids to assess their learning, let alone learning off of YouTube on virtual Wednesdays. My children have learned all about State Farm and Liberty Mutual from YouTube because that's the ads, and there's no censorship for ads. I don't need my kindergarten learning that. Day after day, sitting in the same desk chair for lunch when we adults know there are ways to get these kids out of their room. Taxpayer dollars paying for school libraries not being used when all the other public libraries have found a way for the community to go visit, not for the kids, but for the community. What a kick in the face after passing a $98.7 million proposal. But we are so close to the end of the school year, right? Mitigation strategies are working, so everything's fine. Why are we not advocating for our students, but instead just coasting into the end of the year because our strategies are working? This level of complacency is what made families look elsewhere and continue to look elsewhere. You need to go above and beyond to make up for a year of complacency and poor planning. We need to hear what didn't work for this year and what changes you're making for next year. Take ownership of past mistakes and move forward to be better. We need to hear that YouTube will not be used for these younger grades where there's no censorship for ads. We need to hear that teachers will be given guidance and follow-up to ensure they are managing COVID while advancing our children's education. We need to hear more than our elected officials are blindly following Oakland County Health, because that is an excuse to pass the buck. Take accountability for our children's education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Bristol. I have a 9th and 10th grader at Old, and I didn't think I would speak, but I just have a couple notes because after all of this and all of their retirement, that was really great. I work at a private school. It's definitely smaller. It's in Plymouth. It's preschool to 8th grade, and we have our very last day of school on Thursday. We have been in school 5 days a week, face-to-face, since September. We closed for 1 week. Everyone's masked currently. We don't know what that looks like in the fall for us, but we are private, and the autonomy is different. What I'm coming before you to say is public doesn't have the autonomy of private. That's understandable, but you do have the autonomy to find it within yourselves to make a stand and really stand up for these kids. There are so many districts that have come forward and said, we are making masks optional. We are always following a mitigation. I feel like here's the ball and here's South Lyon every single time. I just want the ball to be here one time. That would really make probably a lot of people in the community happy. I know that this job is so stinking hard. I know what you're doing is so hard. We are tearfully exhausted at the school where I am. My kids have some phenomenal teachers, and they have some not so phenomenal teachers, and that's like everything in the world. You're gonna have a great doctor and a really crappy doctor. That just happens sometimes. But there is a lot of, I can definitely attest to the things that are happening in the classes and things along that line, but I do have to say that my kids have really had a lot of growth in the fact that they have gone to Mr. Brennan themselves, have emailed, have met with him, have met with their teachers, and said, hey, this isn't working for me. So I think maybe we could all learn something from that too, and move it forward. We just got to get that ball in front. One thing that I would like to see if possible, and I don't know if anyone has ever spoken of it, but the Google Classroom, we have come so far in different ways. What we've thrown out to teachers and said, hey, this is it now, guys. You have to teach this way, whether you like it or not. It would be great to have that in the future. Instead of just shutting it all down and putting it all away and saying, this never happened to us. It did happen to us. It sucked and it happened. But these are the things we learned, and we can take them and move forward. And these are the things we don't like, and we can throw those out. So just, here and there, like I said, I commend you. I know this job is really hard. And congrats to, we're almost to the end of the year, and I hope you guys sleep for about a month, because that's what I plan to do. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Argentati, and I agree with everything I've heard so far regarding the masks, no masking in the fall. I'm a huge proponent of that. One thing I want to talk about is when school does start in the fall, assuming we aren't going to be having masks mandated, we're going to have a mix of kids with a vaccine and without a vaccine. And I'm very concerned that there is going to be some division and segregation, and that's going to be made an issue, and it shouldn't be. Parents have a right not to get their kids vaccinated. Give them a vaccine. That should not even, nobody should be bringing that up. There shouldn't be any teachers bringing it up. There shouldn't be any teachers promoting it, that they need to be vaccinated or to tell their parents to have them vaccinated. That's crossing the line of teaching a curriculum. They're not medical doctors. They're not qualified to speak on it, and I'm very concerned about it, that we will have issues being brought up where there are going to be kids going to school that are not vaccinated, and we're going to have a mix of vaccinated and unvaccinated kids, and we should not be making that an issue, and teachers shouldn't be either, and I just want to make sure that we all understand that and perhaps have a plan to not make that an issue, because that's going to turn into bullying and everything else amongst the kids. And it's a private matter, and we need to keep that private, and it's a family decision between my kids and their pediatrician, not the school district, not any teachers. Thank you for your time.
I'm Kim Argentati. That's my husband. Just happened to be sitting apart tonight. So I like to spot my friends. Anyways, I'm an 18-year resident of South Lyon and of the school district. My oldest graduated in 2009 and another one in 2016. I currently have a junior and a freshman at South Lyon High. I feel like I have a lot of time invested in this community, and I love it. The past year has been devastating for us in lots of different ways. So, before I get too emotional here, back when my oldest two were in middle school, there was this big initiative within the district for anti-bullying. It was incredible. There was, because kids at that time were bullying each other, and there was a big push and awareness about it. I never thought in a million years that I would have to think about my kids now in high school having to deal with bullying from the teacher perspective. It's not all of them, you guys. It's not. We have great teachers in this district. I have friends who are teachers. But there are some in this district that are pushing their vaccine agenda onto these children. And it has no place whatsoever. And it's not just the vaccine, it's the masking. When my freshman comes home from school and she has a headache and her water bottle is completely full because she is too afraid to take a sip of water because her teacher will yell at her about it, there is a problem, okay? It's water. We're talking air, okay? Let these kids breathe. Let them drink water. They're not spreading COVID by drinking their water or taking a breath through their nose. Okay, and we'll move on. I don't believe that teachers should be talking about vaccines, whether they get it or they're encouraging their students to get it. They have their children get it, their 12-year-old child get it. That has no place in the classroom. They are not medical professionals. They are teachers. You need to stick to what they're supposed to be teaching, academics. I'm curious to know at the end of this year where we will be with our numbers, with our academics. So I think if they want to have a discussion about COVID vaccine, then present all sides. Because there are two sides to this, you guys. There is, we have become a divided country in this last year. This is a great opportunity to become together. There are two sides to this. Our kids are not perfect, but they have been through one of the toughest years of their lives. A little grace and compassion from our district and our teachers would go a long way with them. So I want to read to you what I took off of your guys' board website. Parents, students, staff, and other community members are invited to attend these meetings. Doing so helps develop an understanding of the role of the board in developing and maintaining a quality educational program for children in the district. Gosh, that goes fast. Your number one, where I'm going with this is that your number one priority every day you get up to do your job here should be what is best for our students, no matter what. What is best for them? We thought you were making that decision back in the summer when we all did that survey, and 80% of the families said they wanted in person, and snap, that rug was pulled out right underneath us. We don't want that to happen again. Listen to your families here. You want us to trust you have to trust us. Listen to us. Get our kids in school. Take the masks off. It's the studies. The study by American Academy of Pediatrics found that school transmission of COVID-19 is extremely rare. That was a 100,000 student and staff study done with Duke University and University of North Carolina Chapel. There's very little spread from student to student and very little, if not none, from student to teacher. Do what's right for our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm PJ Subcheck, and I'm sure Mr. Archibald has seen several emails from me, so nice to see you in person.
Nice to see you in person.
And we've also had good emails and good conversations as well. And I do agree with what everybody has said here with the same vein of the masks optional. I actually took one of the masks that the school provides for our kids, and I put cornstarch through it. The cornstarch went through the mask. So the COVID-19 virus, from my understanding, I'm not a science person, not a medical doctor, is smaller than cornstarch. And there's news that has come out recently that it's even small to come through the mask. I understand people have all different kinds of opinions. I respect that. I do really think the mask should be optional. This school year has really been lost. I also have a student at OSTC who's a senior who graduated, and he had welding. How much can you weld online? It was a waste. It was a waste. I mean, he really should be able to go get a job welding from OSTC. That's kind of the progression. He barely got it. Again, the teachers there were graceful, and we've been blessed with awesome teachers. I've not had all the bad experiences, so we have been lucky. But again, I have a son a 10th grader that would complain about one of his teachers, like you can't even like touch your mask, and the teacher would have an issue. And I don't know what's going on with that teacher's home. I think everybody has their own personal experiences, but their job is to teach and is to educate and is to do what's best for the kids. And that really has really been lost this whole year. So I would really like you guys to keep that in mind. And depression, suicide rate, COVID is not the only thing in the world. There's car accidents. Check out car accidents from high school students. We don't stop them from driving cars to school. I'm an insurance adjuster. Check out that statistic. It's much more scarier than COVID. So I just want, let's just put COVID, it's very real. I'm not saying it isn't. I know people that are sick. I know that people have passed away. I've had people close to me. I understand that, but we can't stop the world because of one thing when there's so many other things in it. And it doesn't impact a majority of the school class body. It doesn't. So I just really want you guys to really consider the big picture of life for these students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe Cusimano. I've been in the district a long time, graduating senior this week, sophomore finishing up at South Lyon High School. They've been here since the ECC, so longtime resident. I have two topics, so please forgive me. I'm going to go over, but I'll do my best to go fast. Third-party access to the facilities. I want to talk about that, specifically the pool, and like everyone else, I'll make some comments about 2021-22 school year. Third-party access to the pools. We're in a situation where we still don't know. Can the third parties access the pools? This is devastating for the swim community. I've been involved with the swim programs in this district for about 10 years. My daughter's now swimming for a third-party USA club team in Novi. There's actually 2 club teams swimming out of Novi High School right now. The South Lyon Aquatics swim team is currently swimming out of Howell High School. They've renamed themselves South Lyon Howell Aquatics. There's swimmers in Brighton, there's swimmers, all third parties swimming at community or at high school swimming pools. Yet here we are, our district still is not giving any indication as to when these facilities will be available again. It really hurts swimming, especially because there's not a lot of swimming pools in the world for access to the kids, unlike baseball and basketball and all other facilities where there's a lot of alternatives. There's not a lot of alternatives for swimming pools. It's exacerbated by the fact that for whatever reason, South Lyon Rec controls the access for third parties to the pools. I could go on and on about this. I was really involved in the South Lyon Sea Lion swim team converting over to South Lyon Aquatics. I understand the ins and outs. I'm happy to talk to the board about this afterward. We've really got to do something, right? So the effect it has right now is for somehow, thank goodness, the 2 swim coaches managed to run a swim clinic this summer. So they're going to have people in there, students swimming. But in 8 weeks, 10 weeks, mid-August, the swimmers will start, the girls will start the team, their fall season. And the boys, then what do? They're going to go to a Novi swim team. They're going to go to a Brighton swim team. They're going to go to some other third party because our South Lyon Aquatic swim team or any other swim club still has no clue and has been given no indication of when they can have access to the pools again. The other districts have figured this out. We need to figure this out. Again, I can go through 100 details about this. I'll just invite you guys to contact me because I would love to talk about it, especially when we're spending millions of dollars on a new pool at South Lyon High School. There's no aquatics coordinator. I mean, the ADs are nice guys, but they're not swimmers. They don't have the swimming experience, and other than our 2 awesome coaches, there's just not a lot of detail or a lot of people with expertise or anyone really managing the pools from a community standpoint. So please, we need to address this. 2022 school year. I'll try and keep going fast here. Again, everyone's here for the same reason. There's so many things I could say. This is an emotionally triggering year for everybody. We can all quote data. We all latch on to different data. I guess I've settled on one simple message. If the messaging in the last month, if you think that's convincing us to trust you again, you're wrong. We don't. I'll go as quickly as I can. I have specific examples. The last meeting, Mr. Archibald, I apologize. You actually said, I have the exact quote. I'll just go off the cuff. You almost wish that the school year wasn't going to end. And we're like, oh my God. as a whole, the communication comes out, even your letter from last week. We are planning for the least restrictive mitigation efforts given what the current guidance will be when we open in the fall. You folks are our last defense for educational excellence. You're all we have. Our other option is to put our houses up for sale and move, because there's plenty of people with their hands in the cookie jar trying to tell us how to run our health lives right now. Oakland County Health Department's doing a great job, but they don't need your help, right? Yes, we get it. We have to follow the rules. We have to follow the guidance. We have to follow the mandates. But please, it sure appears like you're waiting at the phone for Oakland County Health Department to call because you want to run in and jump in. Here's the new guidance, everyone. Let's go do it. You're the defenders of educational excellence for our community. Please act like it, because none of us think that you are. And that is why we're all here. You know, I wrote this sentence. If you want to be a leader and demonstrate leadership to educational excellence, try this in your next letter. Looking ahead to the 2021-22 school year, the administration and leadership team of the South Lyon Community School District is absolutely 100% committed to returning our district to the educational excellence and operational excellence of pre-pandemic levels. That's a firm statement. That's what a leader does. This letter you sent out last week, the content is nice, but there's nothing that gives us confidence that you're defenders of educational excellence. It's all about mitigation strategies. It's all about masks. It's all about policy. Please, again, educational excellence. Focus on that. That's what we want to hear. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we will move on. Item 5, approval of agenda. One addition I would like to make under item 14, under N for other, would be to add a line item for pre-audit communication. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda. With the aforementioned addition.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mr. Leftwich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have the May 18th regular meeting minutes, the June 1st, 2021 study session, and the June 2nd, 2021 special meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes from May 18th regular meeting, June 1st study session, and June 2nd special meeting.
Support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mr. Tell. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Next, we have item number 7, the South Lyon Community Schools Extended COVID-19 Learning Plan Reconfirmation. Is that you, Mr. Archibald, or Ms. Kudwa? Ms. Kudwa.
The extended COVID-19 learning plan was presented to the Board of Education on September 21st. The Oakland ISD approved the district's extended COVID-19 learning plan on September 30th, and we are required to reconfirm once per month thereafter the instructional delivery method, along with reviewing the weekly two-way interaction rates. At this time, the administrative team is not recommending any changes to the instructional delivery method. Our weekly two-way interaction rates are included in the report for you and are well above the required 75%. We recommend you approve the continuation of the instructional delivery method as described in the extended COVID-19 learning plan.
Thank you, Ms. Kudwa. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the continuation of the instructional delivery method as described in the extended COVID-19 learning plan.
I'll support then.
Okay, it's moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Is there any discussion, questions? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Kennedy?
Vote yes.
Ms. Youngelis Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Item number 8 is the bond 2020 South Lyon East High School Auxiliary Gym addition. Mrs. Witt?
Yes, good evening. Representatives from Barton Mallow and IDS evaluated the bid proposal for the South Lyon East High School Auxiliary Gym Addition project. Post-bid review meetings were conducted with the contractor the week of May 10th, 2021, and references were checked and everything was found to be in order. The project includes constructing the addition of an auxiliary gym at South Lyon East High School. This project was advertised on the state website and posted online through Building Connected. The bids were received on May 6th, 2021 at 2 p.m. The following listed contractors were the apparent low bidders. Fessler Bowman for concrete in the amount of $668,500. Baker Construction for masonry in the amount of $876,516. Cassidy Steel for steel in the amount of $1,398,493. Barton Mallow Company for general trades in the amount of $178,000. BJ Construction Services for interior carpentry in the amount of $312,988. Midwest Wall Company for metal wall panels in the amount of $228,500. Royal West Roofing for the roofing in the amount of $197,000. Roseville Glass for aluminum and glazing in the amount of $65,850. Kuhn Specialty Flooring for the wood gym flooring in the amount of $139,900. Shocks Brothers Floor Covering for flooring in the amount of $65,500. GV Painting LLC for the painting in the amount of $113,740. Quality Air Systems for the mechanical in the amount of $573,000. O'Donnell Electric for the electrical in the amount of $443,300. And Fessler Bowman for site work and extended concrete in the amount of $437,754. The total contract amount for all these contracts is $5,775,033. It is the administration's recommendation to approve the to award the contractors and corresponding amounts that were just read.
Thank you. Something tells me somebody's going to be afraid to make this motion.
I can make it like this. I move to award the contractors and corresponding amounts listed in item 8 to the total amount of $5,775,033.
Support.
Okay, it was moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Mr. Ertel. Are there any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
I vote yes.
And Ms. Junculus Pierce?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next up is item number 9, Go Math Materials Extension Purchase for 6th and 7th grade.
Yes.
Mrs. Kudwa?
During the 2015-16 school year, our middle school teachers began using our Go Math materials as their teaching resource for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade courses. The original contract was for a 6-year license, which included both online access to materials and student workbooks. The majority of the licenses are due to expire at the end of this school year, which would leave our teachers without online access and student workbooks for the next school year. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were unable to bring teachers together to review updated curriculum materials for our middle school math program during this school year like we normally would have. The company has agreed to allow us to purchase a 1-year extension on our license so we can have the time to review new materials over the 2021-22 school year to make an informed decision about the best path forward for our middle school math curriculum and instruction. Therefore, we are recommending an extension of the materials for a year to give time to review new materials and make the best decision. We have plans to meet with our middle school math subject area curriculum committee over several times over the 21-22 school year to evaluate the options that are out there, and we would plan to bring a recommendation forward for the 22-23 school year. The materials extension was presented at the May 18th Board of Education meeting, and no changes were requested, and therefore we are recommending that you approve the purchase of the extension of the Go Math printed and online materials from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt for a total amount of $38,166.09 for use in the 21-22 school year for grades 6 and 7.
Thank you, Ms. Kudwa.
I'll move to approve the purchase of the extension for the Go Math printed online materials in the amount of $38,166.09 for grades 6 and 7 for 2021-22.
I'll support.
Okay, that was moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Ms. Yonkelis Pierce. Any discussions or questions? Hearing none, Ms. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
I vote yes.
Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Item 10, 2021-2022 MHSAA membership resolution.
Every year, the board is presented with a resolution for membership in the Michigan High School Athletic Association, or MHSAA. And our recommended action is that you adopt this resolution for membership in the MHSAA for the year August 1st, 2021 through July 31st, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Toth.
I'll move to approve the MHSAA membership resolution.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Leftwich. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Mrs. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
I vote yes. Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Yes.
And Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 11, the approval agreement with International Union of Operating Engineers. Mr. Toth?
The origins of this contract began several months ago when the bus mechanics who are non-affiliated worked with the Michigan Employment Relations Commission and are now represented by the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 234. We have a tentative agreement that has been ratified by their membership. This contract has a 2-year term from June 8th, 2021 through August 31st, 2023. Our recommended action is that you approve the International Union of Engineers Local 234 collective bargaining agreement as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Toth.
I move approval of the International Union of Engineers collective bargaining agreement as presented.
I'll support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Ms. Yonkelis Pierce. Questions? Discussion?
We discussed this in closed session earlier, so just thank you to everyone who worked on this agreement.
Yeah, sounds like it was an easy process, so appreciate it to work on it. Mr. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Item number 12, Bond 2020 Griswold Operations Center Technology Storage Mezzanine. Mrs. Witt?
Yes. Representatives from Barton Mallow and IDS evaluated the bid proposals for the Griswold Operations Center Technology Storage Mezzanine Project. Post-bid reviews meetings were conducted with the contractors the week of May 10th, 2021, and references were checked and everything was found to be in order. This project includes adding a door from the second floor of the Griswold building to the existing mezzanine and creating a technology storage area. The project was advertised on the state website and posted along through Building Connected. The bids were received on May 6, 2021 at 2 p.m. It is the recommendation of administration to award the contractors in corresponding amounts listed below as presented. Baker Construction for masonry in the amount of $2,012. Cassidy Steel for steel in the amount of $6,325. Barton Mallow Company for general trades in the amount of $31,000. GV Painting LLC for painting in the amount of $2,500, and O'Donnell Electric for electrical in the amount of $2,600. The total amount awarded would be $437,000, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Witt. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yes, I will move to award the contractors and corresponding amounts listed below as presented for the Griswold Operations Center Technology Storage Mezzanine.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved by Mrs. Ortell, second by Mr. Kennedy. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Ortell, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Item 13, Bond 2020 South Lyon East Food and Planning Room renovations. Ms. Witt?
Representatives from Barton Mallow and IDS evaluated the bid proposals for the South Lyon East Food and Planning Room project. Post-bid review meetings were conducted with the contractors the week of May 10th, 2021, and references were checked and everything was found to be in order. This project includes updates to 2 planning rooms and converting the existing food room in 2 separate classrooms at South Lyon East High School. The project was advertised on the state website and posted online through Building Connected. The bids were received on May 6, 2021 at 2 p.m. It is the administration's recommendation to award the contractors and corresponding amounts listed below as presented. Fessler Bowman for concrete in the amount of $4,225. Baker Construction for masonry in the amount of $22,267. Barton Mallow Company for general trades in the amount of $75,000. BJ Construction Services interior carpentry in the amount of $18,455. Royal West Roofing for roofing in the amount of $1,200. Shock Brothers Flooring Covering for flooring in the amount of $9,850. GV Painting LLC for painting in the amount of $14,000. Quality Air Systems for mechanical in the amount of $68,000. O'Donnell Electric for electrical in the amount of $48,320 for the total amount awarded to be $261,317.
Thank you, Ms. Witt.
I'll move to approve the contractors and award the bids to the aforementioned in the amount of $261,317.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mr. Leftwich. Any questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Ortell, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Dashner?
Yes?
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. That brings us to our information inquiry section of the meeting. Administration. First, we have the IDS Barton Mallow quarterly update for the Board of Education. I assume that's you, Charlie? And Stephanie? Oh, and Aubrey back there too? Uh-oh. Not gonna whack us over the head now, are you? It even fits.
Hey, it's a good thing, otherwise I was gonna show up with ox.
Thank you.
Figured I had to try.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks for allowing us to come and provide you with our third quarterly board update. It's just putting this together, it's kind of hard to believe it was 3 months ago already and that we were updating on this. So we'll try to make this brief and provide some good information as we look forward for the next quarter. For those that don't know, I'm Charlie Haas. I'm an architect with IDS, but the project manager for the 2020 bond. And with me, I have Aubrey Robichaud, an architect and the lead designer for the 2020 bond work. What we want to do tonight is go through the status and give an overview of some select bond projects that we've got going on. This will include projects that are still in design, as well as look forward into construction and other design phases. So, as we've gone through our past board presentations, we've kind of educated and alluded to what the different design phases meant. So, we do have a lot that's currently in schematic design. So this slide's giving all of our design updates. So, We are about 2 weeks away from wrapping up our schematic design on the Early Childhood Center addition, the Bartlett Elementary Classroom addition, the renovations to the admin building, the 2022 paving projects, which include repaving portions of Millennium Middle School, as well as the South Lyon East High School parking lot expansion. We have multiple phases planned for district-wide lighting upgrades, and we're working on the first phase, as well as some various elementary school renovations. I believe they're at Dolson, Brummer, Hardy, and a couple others. So we've got those going on as well. We just completed design development with the South Lyon High School pool addition. Barton Mallow is currently working on a cost estimate that we will be reviewing with the various committees and internally to present at a later date, as well as the South Lyon High School and South Lyon East High School athletic site improvements. And that is primarily the turf fields, the auxiliary practice field, the turfing of the softball fields, or the varsity softball fields, and the infield of the varsity baseball. Tonight we're going to focus on choose to kind of highlight, I guess I should say, the projects that we have outlined in red on here. Going over what we've done with the ECC and Bartlett classroom, as well as the South Lyon High School pool. One kind of comment I'll make ahead of the ECC edition is that we did conclude our last user meetings with the ECC and Bartlett last week. We are still in the process of making some plan updates, particularly for the ECC project. So the project, or the plans you will see, are just the most recent ones we presented, but we will kind of talk through what the schematic design plan will end up looking like. Looking forward to 2021 construction, we have completed our first bond project. That was the East High School chiller replacement. Got that online in time for the cooling season, so I know that there's a lot of people happy about that. We are in the pre-construction, which is this phase where we'll now enter those, now that you've approved contracts, we'll enter those for the Aux Gym, the Foods Lab, and the Griswold project. That's where we review submittals, start some contractor coordination early on, as well as we've already gone through pre-construction on a slew of these as well. And then construction will pick up with these starting as soon as school gets out, give or take teachers some time to clear out their classrooms if they're affected. But what we have here are the playground first phase. That's at Dolson, Salem, and Sayre. The dates you'll see are projected to be the start to complete dates. So a lot of these will be coming online in time for the 2021-2022 school year. 2021 paving replacement, that is at Brummer, Dolson, and Hardy, as well as the main turf stadium, or stadium turf at South Lyon East, and the track resurfacing, that was going on. Kent Lake flooring replacement, that'll include the replacement of all the corridor flooring at Kent Lake. The South Lyon High School flooring replacement, we've taken a little bit of a modified approach due to construction market and material availability. It was originally called Phase 1, but we've kind of broken it up into Phase 1A and 1B. 1A will highlight the band and choir room replacement, and 1B, which will take place next summer, will be the main corridor and entryways where the terrazzo and the walk-off carpet will go. We also will begin construction late summer on the Aux Gym at South Lyon East, and the Griswold Operations Center, and the South Lyon East High School Foods Lab and Planning Room conversion. As we get through, now that contracts have been approved, Barton Mallow will work on putting together a more firm schedule, and hopefully at our next update we'll be able to provide some more firm updates on when those projects can start and come online. And then looking forward to next summer, the projects that we're anticipating to have available and start construction on are the South Lyon High School science labs, both high school site improvements, the Phase 1B for South Lyon High School flooring, the Phase 1 for lighting upgrades, the pool at South Lyon High School, the ECC and Bartlett additions, the admin building renovations, the various elementary school renovations, as well as the 2022 paving projects discussed. So real quickly, I know that we haven't really done a lot about this, or talked a lot about this previously, but it's always kind of nice to, I know kids get excited about the playground equipment, and the principals are very excited as well as we went through this. So we wanted to share just some updates with the board and the community about what the schools can expect at Dolson, Sayre, and Salem for next year. At Dolson, they're getting a new set of swings, new climber, and a new merry-go. I know they all kind of have quirky names depending on who the manufacturer is, but essentially it's a merry-go-round, I guess I'll call it. As well as relocating some existing pieces that were requested to be moved as part of this. At Salem, they'll be getting a new, there's currently two banks of swings that will be combined into one, as well as a new climber replacing aged equipment, as well as in the lower elementary playground, what they call a sensory wave climber will be installed as well. And then at Sayre, they will be receiving a larger climbing structure, which one of the primary focuses of this was to focus on having some accessible equipment. So this piece right here will accomplish that, and it should be should be a good source of excitement and play for the kids come next school year. And then in addition to these, at Brummer and Hardy, they will be receiving new basketball hoops as a result, kind of incidental work to the 2021 paving as we are repaving the basketball courts. It seems like the opportune time to replace the basketball hoops as well. Before we get into the ECC edition, are there any questions so far on what I've kind of run through? All right, well, I'll invite Aubrey up to walk you through the ECC, the Bartlett, and the South Lyon High School pool.
All right, thank you, Charlie, and good evening, everyone. So I'm going to sort of walk through where we're at in terms of design development for our Early Childhood Center. We're going to go through Bartlett a little bit as well, and then give an update on where we're at in terms of the design of the pool so far. So at the Early Childhood Center addition, from a sort of scheduling standpoint, as Charlie mentioned, we are almost about to wrap up the schematic design phase of the project. Here on this slide are just a list of the participants that have been involved so far. From the district standpoint, as well as from the IDS and Barton Mallow standpoint. And so we will be wrapping up this schematic design report here in the next 2 weeks to hand over to Barton Mallow for cost estimating. And so this first image is just to show an existing aerial view of the current site as it exists today, with the Early Childhood Center there highlighted in red. And so as part of this process, we've really been meeting with the user groups throughout this early design phase project. And one of the primary goals that has been sort of established as we've really reviewed the existing building conditions and the needs for this building, the primary goal that really was established was providing increased capacity in terms of student enrollment. And so providing additional space that would allow them to service additional children in this building specifically. And in addition to that, providing support spaces that would work for the staff needs in this building as well. And so if I jump forward to the current proposed design of this addition, and as Charlie mentioned, this will be tweaked a little bit in the next couple weeks as we wrap up this report based on our last design meeting with the group. But here, as you'll notice, we're proposing an addition in the sort of courtyard space on the west side of the building. And included as part of this addition would be a new classroom that is sized to match the size and capacity of the existing classrooms that were added as part of the 2015 addition that are on the north end of the building. And so that would include almost a double toilet space that would be accessed from within that classroom. And then also as part of this addition, to support some of the staff needs, is being proposed what we're calling a resource room. And what this will do is service the occupational therapy and the physical therapy folks that are currently working out of this building who operate in the existing multi-purpose space. And this space will give them something more dedicated to those activities and allow to be able to free up some of the activities that want to happen in that multi-purpose space. And so in addition to those two spaces being proposed are some additional staff resource type spaces. For example, what you see on the bottom right, the staff workroom that will be combined with the existing workroom in that location, and then a relocated conference room, and along with an additional single occupant staff toilet room and an office. And then these next couple images sort of give you more of a detailed look at those proposed space reconfigurations. I won't go into too much detail with those. But again, this one shows that combined workroom and staff break room. And then this image shows you more of a test fit of some of those specific items that would be included in that occupational therapy and physical therapy space. And that sort of wraps up the Early Childhood Center edition. Are there any, before I move on to Bartlett, are there any questions or comments? Okay, so with Bartlett, we're sort of on the same timeline with this project in terms of schedule. So we're about to wrap up the schematic design phase of this project as well. Again, here's a list of the sort of team members that have been involved to date on the development of this project. This first slide, again, is showing you that same existing aerial image of both ECC, which we just talked about, and Bartlett to the west of that building. So part of the scope of the project at Bartlett will include a little bit of site work. So what's highlighted here in the sort of orange rectangle would be some paving that would take place along with the addition of some basketball hoops to the north of the building. And then the sort of blue block that you see there is really the minor reconfiguration of that existing playground area, which will be necessitated in order to make room for this addition that's being proposed. And here you can kind of see on the northwest corner of Bartlett is where we're proposing to add this addition. And so as we worked through various design meetings with the user groups, we really sort of dug into the existing building layout and how that functions. And some of the feedback we were getting from the users of the building was really that there's a great need to sort of increase the capacity, again, similar in a sense to ECC, increase capacity in this building so that they could service more students. And that was one of the primary goals that sort of emerged out of this project. And one of those being to increase the total classroom sections which is currently 19 in this building, up to 24, which is an ideal number of classroom sections for an elementary in this district. And so if we jump forward here to the new proposed addition plan, here you can see the 4 classroom addition that's being proposed at the northwest corner of the building. These are slightly larger in size and in configuration, including individual toilet rooms within the classrooms that would allow for some flexibility for the users so that these could be utilized as either first grade or kindergarten level classrooms here. And it sounded like the preference was for this to be a kindergarten wing, essentially. And so this would allow them to repurpose the existing classroom spaces that are currently used for kindergarten into first grade. And it will allow them to get 4 total classroom sections for each grade level in this building. And then in addition to those 4 classrooms that we talked about, there's going to be a couple other small resource spaces that you see in the sort of light blue color. And so those would allow some flexibility for them to repurpose some of the existing classrooms that are currently used for resource and are underutilized in that sense so that they can fully utilize those classroom spaces in the future. And then this slide is just showing a little bit more detail in terms of what goes into those 2 resource rooms that we were talking about. So one would be more of a workroom for staff in that area of the building, and the other would be more of an office/instructional space that they could use for up to 8 students at one time. And I'll pause in case there's any questions before we go forward to the pool. will jump forward then to where we are at currently from a design standpoint with a pool. So when we presented this 3 months ago, we sort of outlined this list of major players that have been involved in the design team, the design effort from the beginning. Where we are currently, we just wrapped up the design development phase about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and that is currently with Barton Mallow for cost estimating. And I won't go into too much detail. I know we covered these project goals the last time we talked as a group, but as we've been moving forward in this design development phase, we've really been keeping these in mind as we design and come up with a solution to meet these project goals that have been established. And so just to give a brief overview in terms of where we're at from a planning standpoint, there's been a few tweaks to the overall layout since the last time we met as a group, but not too significant. We still have the sort of primary program pieces that we talked about last time. The 2 pools, one being the competition pool, one being the therapy pool, and then the sort of locker room suite that is sandwiched between the existing PE locker rooms and the new pool deck to the south. We are still maintaining the main entry vestibule on the west side of the building. It will just be reconfigured to be slightly larger to accommodate the larger capacity of this addition. And then to jump up on the upper level as well, we're still holding primarily a 480 capacity viewing platform north of the competition pool, which you see in green there. There is a multi-purpose space directly behind that to the north that would be used in conjunction with the existing weight room. And then we also have public restrooms on the 2nd floor, shown in the lighter green color. And then we've got a little bit more detail in terms of design development relative to the locker rooms that we want to share. So that, as I had mentioned before, there have been a few tweaks to the locker room layouts themselves, but generally the overall programmatic elements have remained the same. We still have the sort of gender-specific men's and women's locker rooms with the lockable varsity locker rooms within each of those suites. And the idea is that the locker room suites, including the cabanas, would be accessible to members of the district, students, athletes, and the community all at the same time. And so since the last time we met as a group, we've really been developing more of the interior finishes and the exterior finishes as part of this project, and so that's what we want to get into a little bit more detail today. So here is just sort of an example of what one of the typical locker rooms would look like. As we've been thinking about this, we've really been taking into account how these are utilized by both the students and the community and thinking about the materiality in those ways. And so we're really sort of thinking about how we incorporate through the material selection, those sort of blue tones that really speak to the sort of branding of the district, and at the same time thinking about introducing sort of warmer colors that speak more to the community piece of this addition project. And so the material selection, both from an interior standpoint and an exterior standpoint, has really been thinking about those 2 things. And so if we jump to some of the interior images, I'll sort of go through these fairly quickly. But the idea is, again, thinking about those material palettes and choices from the standpoint of all the users of the space. So this would include the athlete, the student, the spectator, and also the community. And so, for example, if we think about this from a community standpoint, we're really thinking of sort of the warmer, more slate colors, the transparency, the natural light that's brought into the space, and also thinking about having a warmer tone for some of that ceiling surface, to help really make the therapy pool feel like something a little more unique and intimate relative to the competition pool. Again, here's another image sort of from the other direction, looking back towards the spectator seating that you see there in the far distance in this image. And I'll sort of wrap around here, and this is showing an image sort of from the center line of that competition pool from the starting blocks. And then again, sort of speaking from the athlete and sort of the spectator perspective here, we're really looking at bringing in like those blue tones that really complement well with the other materials that we've selected for this space. Here's an image showing potential material selection for that interior lobby. then a slide sort of showing what some of those specific material selections are. So including the floor tile for the pool and the locker rooms, different paint tones, and then starting to think about how we can bring in those colors with the acoustic paneling in the pool space as well. A little bit of the floor tile pattern. And then from an exterior standpoint, so this is an image showing the new proposed entry vestibule. So this is if you were sort of standing from the entry from the Center of for Active Adults. So really sort of highlighting that entry point a little bit more than it is currently, making it feel a little bit unique. And then looking at that sort of therapy pool volume, which is the sort of darker block with the transparent material that allows natural light in. Really thinking about that block as being developed as something unique aesthetically that really celebrates the community aspect of this program. And then if we sort of swing around to the sort of southwest corner of the building, again, we're sort of looking at that entry sort of tucked back here. And then thinking about introducing some sort of like a metal panel that really celebrates the larger competition pool volume and the athletic nature of the program with that part of the exterior. So from a design team standpoint, we feel like the material palettes and the selections really sort of celebrate the unique functions of what's happening inside this addition, but at the same time, sort of complementing the existing building in a nice way as well. So I will pause there if there are any questions.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Thanks, Aubrey. Just real briefly, some next steps to go over. We're going to continue our design efforts between the design team and the district. And with this summer, I guess one item I didn't put on here is we'll be putting into full gear our construction administration efforts for the playgrounds, the paving. I think all living in Michigan, we can appreciate some fresh asphalt and concrete these days. And then getting the Aux Gym out of the ground. So we'll look to provide another update in September of 2021 once the schedules are established for board meetings. And then we continue our monthly meetings with the FPC, with the next one taking place approximately mid-July. If there's not any other questions, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you for this hat.
I'll pass that to Seth. Oh, there you are.
Not a hat, it's a hard hat.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is Code of Conduct Handbook updates for the middle schools for 2021-2022. Mrs. Kudwa?
Yes, and we bring these in 3 for the new board members. So the middle schools have an identical handbook between them. The high schools are about 98% identical, but because the offices are located in different spots in the building, where you go if you're leaving early or arriving late is different. So we bring those as 2 separate handbooks because those directions to students about what to do in those situations is slightly different. So for the middle schools, the middle school codes of conduct and handbook have been updated for the 2021 school year. There are some minor corrections to formatting as well as the following major changes. Mr. Toth will be listed as our Title IX coordinator moving forward. The attendance information regarding how truancy cases are handled will be printed in all 3 handbooks moving forward. Disciplinary actions for instances of nicotine, drug, alcohol, and drug paraphernalia used to be listed in the board policy section of the handbook, and with the changes we made to the policies, we are now listing that directly in the handbook, so it's very easily accessible for families. So same process, procedure, consequence listing, but just making sure it's still listed in full in the handbook so that it's accessible to students and families. And then the middle schools did amend their dress codes to indicate that a shirt or dress strap needed to be 2 inches wide, since the language of 4 fingers, depending on who the child was, it wasn't consistent between children. So they've made that transition to a 2-inch wide standard then for straps on dresses and shirts. And the middle school codes of conduct and handbook were taken to the Curriculum and Communications Committee for discussion, and they will be brought back to you all on the June 22nd meeting for approval. Are there any questions on the middle school changes? So then moving on to the 2 high schools, most of the middle school changes also apply at the high school handbooks as well. And then again, we talked a little bit about the fact that the 2 handbooks come separately. So one of the additional changes that's there for the high schools, previously we had listed all of the board members and their terms in the opening portion of the handbook. However, because elections come around in November, that is oftentimes obsolete by the time parents and students are looking for that information. So instead, there's now a statement directing them back to the district website for the most accurate and current information. Again, we've adjusted the Title IX coordinator piece. The attendance information is printed as well. We did list in there for the absences under excused. We are listing that college visits and job shadowing opportunities are an excused absence. They always were, but I don't think everyone was always aware of that, so we felt it was important to call that out now in the 2 high school handbooks so that families are aware they can take their students for those pieces. And then again, that piece to the policies around nicotine, drug, alcohol, and drug paraphernalia, that's now called out specifically within it, so it's easily accessible. And then for East, those will be brought back to the June 22nd meeting for approval as well. And then for South Lyon High School, it's much of the exact same things, but they did clarify some of their attendance procedures as well too. So all 3 will be brought back to the next board meeting, and all 3 already have gone through curriculum and communications.
Thank you.
Any questions on those?
You can probably roll right into the next one.
I can roll right into the next one, thank you. The kindergarten through 5th grade subject area curriculum committee had previously identified the serial city resources for purchase in order to align to the elementary science program with the updated Michigan science standards. We had intended to roll those out over a 3-year period given the cost of the materials. So 4th and 5th grade went 1 year, then 3rd and 2nd, and then it was supposed to be followed up with kindergarten and 1st. Because of all the uncertainty around funding for schools last spring, we did push those purchases back 1 year. And now as we are bringing them forward, so this matches everything we've already done for 2nd through 5th grade. What we did decide to do, because of the kindergarten readiness assessment and the amount of training that will take for our teachers in the fall, and then the fact that we will need them in their classrooms for a good chunk of the fall to get that data for the state, we really didn't feel like we could roll out all of the kindergarten units next year and provide the proper amount of training to staff. So they will be purchasing only 1 of their units for next year. And then what we will do is come back the following spring and buy the additional units, so they will finish out their piece. But we didn't want to overwhelm the kindergarten teachers and put too much on their plate as we're working into next year, because they are asked by the state to really administer that kindergarten readiness assessment, which will be huge. So this is the new units of study for 1st grade, and then kindergarten 1 unit, and then we will bring back the remainder of the kindergarten units moving forward. And I do have Ms. Engblom here tonight in case there are any questions about that recommendation.
Is there any benefit to purchasing the other unit at this time and not using it this year and waiting till next year to use it and use both units then?
In general, this has not been a company that has given us great volume discounts. We like the materials, but there really hasn't been a big incentive to purchase all at once, which is one of the reasons we were comfortable kind of rolling it out in chunks.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? Okay, that will bring us to F, 2020-2021 Budget Amendment Number 2. Ms. Witt?
Yes, in your board packets for this evening, you were presented with a 2020-21 Amendment Number 2 budget. This budget was provided to the Finance Committee in line item detail on May 3rd and May 24th, where SLEA was provided with the information to review that line item details. Total revenues in the Amendment 2 budget were $97,098,116. Total general fund expenditures were $96,712,885, leaving a general fund revenue over expenses of $385,231, bringing the estimated general fund balance of June 30th, 2021 to $9,830,127. This item will be back at the June, I think it's June 21st.
Oh,
Is it
June 21st?
22nd. June 22nd meeting for approval. So you can ask me questions up until then to make changes to that. to the budget amendment number 2 for the 2020-21 school year. Are there any questions right now?
One that I didn't ask earlier, what, does that, the current projected fund balance as of June 30th, does that put us back in compliance with our policy for 9 plus or minus 1?
I believe that we amended that policy at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
I will double check though and let you know, Craig. I could pull it up on my laptop, but I already brought it down.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just curious what percentage that puts us at, really, is the question. I believe we did suspend that policy for this year.
I believe it puts us at just over 11%, so we are still out of compliance because the policy is 10% plus or minus 1.
Okay,
But I will double check and get you that answer.
thanks. Sorry to hit you blind with that one.
No, that's okay. I should have had it on here.
That does sound right to me. At least we're out of compliance on the good end.
The
rather
good
than
end.
The other direction.
That's correct. Are there any other questions for this budget? I will move on to the 2021-22 preliminary budget. A lot of this information in this slideshow, almost all of it, is going to be presented again at the next public hearing presentation. So you will be seeing this information twice. So this is a presentation for the 2021-22 preliminary budget. This presentation is broken into 4 sections. The first is the state of the state. The second is the 2020-21 preliminary budget. The third is what about South Lyon Community Schools? And the fourth section is a financial forecast. So we'll begin to talk about the state of the state. The governor originally proposed a $164 per pupil increase, which would take the 2021-22 per pupil increase to $8,275. Currently in 2021, the foundation allowance is $8,111. The House is projecting a $100 increase for us, which would bring the foundation allowance for $8,211. And the Senate proposed a $250 increase to the foundation, which would bring our foundation allowance to $8,361. In this budget, we have chosen to go in the middle with the governor's first proposed budget of $164, which brings foundation to $8,275 per pupil. These are some estimates that came out of the May CREC, which is the May Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference that's held at the state level. You'll see the 2020 actual. And then the yellow is the House fiscal agent projections. The green is the Senate fiscal agent projections. And then the blue is the administration projections on what would be in the school aid fund for the 2021, 2022, and 2023. These are the revenues they're projecting. Just a comparison from the May CREC to the January CREC. They hold usually hold 3 different consensus revenue estimating conferences a year. So from January consensus estimates to the May, you can see the differences from the January estimates, and they've all increased to what they're estimating in May for the school aid fund to receive in total revenues. It shows you the general fund of the state on top, and then the school aid fund right below it. So the school aid fund, they increased by $148.2 million. The Senate fiscal agent increased by $1,110 million. The administration increased the school aid fund by $165.1 million in 2021. For 2022, its House fiscal agent was $708.7 million, $597.2 million for the Senate fiscal agent, and the administration increased the school aid fund by 818.7 million for fiscal year 2022. Fiscal year 2023 school aid fund was increased by 734.8 million, 561.3 million, and 847.2 million consecutively. So in all the grand scheme of things, what they projected in January was going to go into the general fund and the school aid fund at the state level has all increased, and we're looking better than they once thought they were in January. This is a chart that the CREC came out with just in May 2021. This is the school aid fund. The solid line shows you actually how much the ongoing school aid fund has increased in revenue. The dotted line is adjusted for inflation, while fiscal year 2023 is up by 32.8% from fiscal year 08 in revenues. If it's adjusted by inflation, it is down 3.4% from fiscal year 1995. So the 2021 school aid fund revenue estimates are from all earmarked taxes and the lottery will total an estimated of $15 billion in fiscal year 2021, an increase of $1.22 billion or 8.2% from the January CREC estimates. 21-22 from all earmarked taxes in the lottery will total an estimated $15.1 billion in fiscal year 21-22, an increase of $776 million from the January CREC. The school aid fund revenue from all earmarked taxes and the lottery will total an estimated $14.3 billion in fiscal year 2022-23, which is an increase of $270.8 million from the January CREC estimate. So it's good news that all of our revenues are coming in higher than they once expected in January. This slide shows you the state of the MIPSERS account. The dark blue on the bottom that you'll see is the base funding from the schools. So that's the retirement that we pay and we're not funded from the state for. And then the green is the small amount that we receive on our state aid that we have to turn around and pay back to the state. And then the light blue on the top is the UAAL, that's the underfunded accrual actual liability. That also comes through, portions of it come through on the state aid, our state aid note, and we have to turn around and pay it back to the school. Basically what it's showing is that the UAAL is going to level off in the year about 2028, and it's going to stay that way until the year 2038 before all that liability is actually paid off and we can go back down to regular retirement rates in 2038. After the May CREC came out, the governor issued a budget framework proposal. She is now suggesting that the original executive budget increase foundation allowance by 2%. That was her original budget, which was $82 to $164 per pupil. South Lyon is funded at the minimum foundation, so we would have received $164 per pupil. That is what is in this current proposed budget. She has now come out and said she wants to increase it by 4%, which means it's going to go up in foundation from $163 to $326 per pupil at an additional cost of $402 million. So the proposed budget also, her proposed framework that she just put out after the May CREC also includes an equity payment to eliminate the gap between districts at the minimum and maximum foundation allowance, which has been a fight for many, many, many years. So that's all good news. Hopefully she can fight to make that happen. So these are our 2021-22 preliminary budget numbers. The Finance Committee met on May 3rd, 2021 and May 24th, 2021, and we reviewed the preliminary budget numbers. The Finance Committee was provided line item details of every line item in our budget to review, and SLEA was also granted access to those documents. We discussed enrollment numbers and where to budget those, and we answered SLEA questions regarding the line item budgets that they compared. In our 21-22 preliminary budget, we have total revenues of $101,057,636. Total expenditures of $98,372,435 for a net operating income of $2,685,201. We do have $721,000 of transfers out, which decreases that general fund in, surplus to $1,964,201. Of those revenues, 69% are state funded through either the school aid fund equalization or the per pupil amount or the increase to the per pupil amount. 14% is federal, including ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 monies that we deferred some ESSER 2 into next year, and then we estimated what we could be getting in ESSER 3 amounts for next year. 6% of those are through the ISD, and 1%, it cut off on my slide, it was from local or other sources. For the 2021 overall per pupil allocation, here I am showing that where we are increasing it by the $164, which was the governor's proposal back in February. So this budget includes an $8,275 foundation amount. The 2020 fall student count was 8,187.09. We are projecting a 200 increase to that, which is a 2.44% increase in enrollment. So this budget is projecting a 2021 estimated fall student count of 8,387 students. Of that 8,387.09 students, we are back in 21-22 for the 90-10 split. It's not a super blend for next year. It's the regular weighted 90% of your fall count, 10% of your previous spring count. So our spring 2021 student count was 8,174.99. Using our estimated student count of 8,387.09 gives us a weighted student count that we will get paid our foundation allowance off of 8,365.85 students. With using the per pupil allocation of $8,275.25, excuse me, the total foundation revenues would be $69,229,500. Taking that into consideration, when we levy our taxes, we levy 18 mills on non-homestead taxes, and that comes off of our state aid payments. So the state expects us to collect part of that foundation money through our 8 mills that we levy from our property tax owners. So if you take $69,229,500 and we subtract out the $10,327,803 that we're projected to levy our property taxes on, that leaves the state providing the rest of the foundation of $58,901,697. Of that 18 mills levied on non-homestead properties, we project usually, just to be safe, that about 0.5% will be delinquent and we won't receive those taxes, which is about $51,639. That amounts to, in this budget, amount of local taxes being budgeted of $10,276,164. For Section 147, A1, A2, C1, and E, that's your MIPSERS offsets, your MIPSERS UAAL that you get in your revenue as your state aid. Our current allocation is $9,601,024. We're estimating that we'll receive $45,500 more in our UAAL and those retirement costs that the state pays us, that we turn around and have to pay back to the state. So our estimated allocation in this budget for our MIPSERS costs are $9,646,552. So let's take a closer look at expenditures. In this budget, we have 50% of our budgeted expenditures are salaries, 37% are benefits. So alone, salaries and benefits are making 87% of the expenditures in this budget. Our purchase services were at 6%, supplies at 5%, and other was at 2%. Capital outlay coming out of the general fund was very, very minimal. For our salaries in this budget, we budgeted 62.5% of our estimated per pupil foundation increase of the 2.02%. That's the $164 to the foundation. 62.5 of that is 1.26%. So our salary, our teacher salary schedules would go up by 1.26%. For the MESPA contract, it's 65% of 2.02%, which equals 1.31% will our MESPA salaries be going up. This is what's in the budget. We've also budgeted for steps, new hires, retirements, resignations, and layoffs. For additional general fund FTEs, an overall estimated increase of $652,056. For our fringe benefits, our budget includes the impact of PA 152, which is basically the hard cap amount. The cap increased by medical consumer pricing index of 3.7%. Anything over our hard cap amount, the difference is paid by the employee. Our overall estimated increase to this budget per our medical benefits is $269,162. Our retirement rates for this year, our average retirement rate is 28.23%. Our MIPSR's stabilization rate is 15.05%, bringing our total retirement rate that we had to pay on all salaries to 43.28% in 21-22. Overall estimated cost increase of this adjustment is $262,122. This is just take a look from the amended budget of 2021 to the preliminary budget 21-22 of salaries increasing by $652,056. Our benefits increasing by $531,284. Our services, supplies, and capital and other expenditures increasing by $1,197,210 for a total increase from the amended 2021 budget to the preliminary 21-22 budget of $2,380,550. So this is our projection for that we made in 2021 or in 2020-21. Excuse me. Our actual K through 5 class size ended up being 23.8. In our budget, as we eliminated 7 teachers last year, our projected class size target for last year was 28 kids per class. For the 2021-22 school year, we are projecting close to 24 students per class K through 5. One of the reasons why we were so much lower this year than we projected after we made those cuts was a lot of kids went virtual. So there wasn't as many kids in the class, and when we had the pandemic, it just worked out that we ended up keeping the class size smaller than that's not what was what we projected. For 2021, we estimated a 0% enrollment increase, and we actually had a negative 6.6% enrollment. In 21-22, we're projecting we're getting some of those kids back. It's a 2.4% increase from where we actually ended this year. Last year, we estimated that we were going to eliminate 7 teaching positions. We actually only ended up eliminating 5 because we had to bring a couple back for virtual. And this year, we're projecting to add 4 general fund teachers back to the budget. Along with the 4 general fund teachers that we project to bring back, we're also projecting in this budget to bring 3 support staff, which would be counselors, social work, for a total of 7 FTEs back. This is a chart that's presented every year here to the board. It's the difference between our instructional costs versus our support costs. The yellow bar you'll see for 21-22 budget, we've increased the instructional costs from 55.98 in 2021 to 57.57 million in 21-22, while our support costs last year were 39.56 million. we've increased the 21-22 costs to $40.13 million. So what about South Lyon Community Schools? While Proposal A was never intended to fund all schools equally, the question must still be asked, are South Lyon students worth millions of dollars less than an average district in the state? This is a chart that is taken from the state. Well, you can look up any foundation allowance in any school from the state website. And we pulled off some of the surrounding schools' base foundation allowance, and we took our blended super blend count from last year of 8,355, which shows you Southfield Community Schools receives 11,331 foundation per pupil. Multiplying that by our student count from last year, they received $26.9 million more than we did because of their base foundation allowance. Farmington receives 10,405. Multiplying that by our student count from last year, they received $19.1 million more than we did. Novi receives 8,839 in foundation. Multiplying that by our student count of 8,355, they received a little over $6 million. The county average is 8,935 foundation allowance. That's $6.8 million. The state average is 8,403, which is almost it's about $2.4 million. And South Lyon gets funded at $8,111. So the governor's budget framework that she just put out would be very beneficial for South Lyon Community Schools and other school districts that are at that minimum foundation allowance right now of $8,111. This is just take a look at what other districts in our area, these are all the districts in Oakland County, where they rank with total revenue. So this isn't just state revenue. This is federal funding, 31A, Title I, all the funding that a school can get, what they receive per student of total revenues. Pontiac School District, and this is for 1920, and this is from the State Michigan Bulletin 1014. So Pontiac School Districts receives about $19,453 per pupil, making them the 27th district with the largest funding per pupil in the state of Michigan. South Lyon on this chart, I think is the lowest funded, ranking 588 school districts out of a total of 829 schools rated here. South Lyon is 588 on total revenues per student. We get $10,164 per student. So in our financial forecasts, we are taking account previous budgets in our financial forecasts, and they continue on into our forecast assumptions. This includes revenues and expenditure changes since May of 2021. It also includes revised state aid and enrollment projections. Oh, shoot, what happened? Okay, here we go. Last year in April of 2020, our forecast for 21-22 was projecting a 1% enrollment. In 22-23, we were projecting a 2% enrollment and state aid of 1.4% increase in each year. And this year, we revised 21-22 to be a 2.4% enrollment and the state aid at 2.02% with the $164 foundation. In our financial forecast, we've dropped the enrollment to a 1% enrollment increase and the state aid back to 1.4%. 23-24 is the same amounts. What you'll notice here though is the federal funding stops after next year. So we do not have any of the federal COVID, ESSER, state equalization grants in our forecasts that we had in this year and in the 21-22 budget. So these are annual revenues over expenditures in the general fund. The last three columns, the 2021, we're looking at adding. 21-22, our budget is looking at adding quite a bit, almost $2 million. But when you go to 22, 23, we're looking at over a $4 million loss in revenues over expenditures once we lose all of that grant COVID funding. Also, this is the same thing kind of, but this shows where what will happen to our balance, our fund balance if we don't correct that after the 21-22 school year. In 21-22, this pushes us up over almost to a $12 million fund balance because we're receiving a lot of grants for next year. In 22-23, we're dipping into that quite a bit. And in 23-24, we're dipping into it another year quite a bit. This is as a percent. So in 2021, we're just over 10%. So we might be in fund balance for 2021. 21-22, our fund balance is looking at almost 12%. And then that 22-23 year of that first $4 million loss, it drops us back to just under 8% again. So for our forecasts, this is basically the projections, 21-22. We're projecting that we are going to put $1.9 million into the fund balance at the end of the year. It is an annual operating surplus. The fund balance, if that were to happen, would be $11,794,329. But we would not be in compliance because we would be at 12%. 22-23 was looking at a $4 million loss. It's not an operating surplus. The fund balance would drop to $7,620,807. And I believe that was just under an 8% fund balance. 23-24 is projecting a $4,015,000 loss, also not an annual operating surplus, which would then drop our fund balance to $3,604,970. So we will take a close look at this over the next year in the forecasts, make corrections as we need to, and there might be additional federal funding coming. We don't know what to say, but we do know that if the grant monies stop next year, we'll have to make some changes to correct the to correct the budget forecasts. The employee contracts, the Teamster contract expires June of 2022. The MESPA contract expires June of 2023. The SLAA contract, the administrators, expires June of 2022. And the SLEA contract, which is the teachers, expires August of 2022. So what's next is this budget will come back to the next meeting on June 22nd, and it will be a public hearing meeting where your truth and taxation is done. The state's target budget approval date is unknown still. We don't know. We will have the public hearing and the board approval of the proposed budget on June 22nd, 2021, and the final amended budget will also come back. Finalized budget documents will be uploaded and posted in June, July, and we will also amend this budget in the fall based on actual student enrollment and actual per pupil funding. And that is it. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't believe so. Looks like our next item on the budget, or on the agenda, is the 2020-2021 millage rates reallocation.
Yes.
And that is you again.
That is me. I think I have the rest of them.
I've got one more.
Oh, okay. Okay, darn. So 2020 millage tax rate reallocation. Last year, I had you guys approve a L4029 where we levied 2.34 on the 2013 refunding debt, 1.28 on the 2015 voted debt, and 3.48 on the 2016 refunding debt, which was a total 7.1 debt mills. It doesn't really matter how we allocate that in the school, and when I was working with PFM, they said I didn't have to bring this back to the board, but I just wanted to, just to be on the safe side. What I'm asking you guys to look at today is we are just going to reallocate the millages between those existing debt funds. So we're going to change the 2000 refunding debt from 2.34 to 2.7000. The 2015 voted debt from 1.28 mils to 1.200 mils. And the 2016 refunding debt to, from 3.48 mils to 3.200 mils. By making these changes, they still overall debt mils totals 7.1 total mils. So I will be bringing this back for approval at the next board meeting. Do we have any questions on that?
I don't believe so. Thank you, Ms. Witt. And then you are also the next one with the 21-22 millage rates.
Yes, the 2021 taxable value of the district increased by 5.9% versus the 2020 amount. As a comparison, the increase from 2014 through 2020 were as follows: 5.6%, 6.3%, 6.3%, 6.9%, 6.4%, 6.6%, and 6.3%. The taxable values value totals does not impact the district's operating budget, but it does have an impact on the district's debt funds. It should be noted that the taxable value of 2022 existing properties could only go up by inflation, which was low at 3%. In May of 2016, the voters approved a 10-year operating millage of 19.972 mils, which is the new authorized amount that will be subject to future rollbacks. The millage was rolled back under Headley calculation to 18.9476 for the 2021 school year. And this year, it is further rolled back to 18.7429 mils for the 21-22 school year. The amount levied will be remaining at 18 mils as in the previous years, as that's the maximum we can levy. Based on the total taxable value of the district and the current schedule of bond principal and interest payments, it is my recommendation to reduce the current debt levy of 7.1 mils to 7.00 mils for 21-22. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't believe so. Thank you, Ms. Witt. And then once again at the 2021 summer tax collection fee.
Yes. In your board packets today, you were provided the the 2021 summer tax collection fees. What these fees are is typically when a school district levies taxes, it gets all of their taxes levied in the winter. Schools can authorize to levy taxes in the summer, which South Lyon Community Schools does. You approved it every December to levy taxes in the summer. This actually helps us a lot from having to borrow from the school loan revolving fund and not having to wait because you don't get a state aid payment in September. So when you levy your taxes in the summer, you don't have to take that loan out and be paying interest on a fund to make payroll and stuff because you don't get your taxes until the winter. So there are a few townships that actually charge us per parcel. These fees have not changed from the 2020 school year, and I don't think they've changed in over 15 years. They're the same rate as what we've always paid.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Witt. You get to take a break now. Up next, we have legislation.
No report this evening.
Got off easy. CETA comments?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I pointed out that we are offering a pilot course at both middle schools for next year, so I wanted to share a little bit about that. It is a support class being offered first semester of next school year, and if it's successful, we'll bring it back for adoption then for second semester as well. It will run at both middle schools with a section for each of the 3 grades, so one at each building for 6th, 7th, and 8th. The course is designed to replace a semester elective for students and would provide additional help in academic skills such as studying and organization, helping students better understand how to pace out long-term projects, working on the skill of advocating for themselves, communicating with staff, and building healthy relationships with their peers, and also managing stress. This is in response to staff requests for a course that helps students who are struggling with more than academics. So we have our lab courses for students struggling in ELA or in math. This is for students who are struggling with school in general. Counselors and social workers and the restorative practices facilitator would push into the course to work directly with the students and the teacher as well. And the course would also include a school-based service project so that the students can develop some leadership skills within the course as well too. The counselors and the principals are working to identify the students at each grade who would benefit most from the course, and they will reach out to those families directly. So it's not a course that students will choose to sign up for, it's a course they will be invited to join based on need. So we will run that as a pilot in the fall, and depending on how that goes, we'll either extend that pilot for second semester or come back and request that it be added as a course.
Thank you, Ms. Kudwa. Next, we have board committee reports. Legislative.
I did not attend the legislative. I think it might have been the night of one of our special board meetings. I just haven't met since we last met.
Understood. Policy, Mr. Abate is not here, but I believe the last policy meeting was canceled. Finance, Mr. Schwegler's not here, but I assume it was all talk about the budgets that we saw today, the amendments and the proposed budgets. Facility planning, Mrs. Artel.
IDS and Barton Mallow did it for me.
Curriculum and communications.
Everything that was on the agenda tonight, I believe we covered in that committee meeting, so there's nothing additional.
Correct.
Okay, Oakland County Schools Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
I don't think we had a meeting.
I don't think so either.
Okay, easy enough. Under other, we have the pre-audit communication that we added. Ms. Witt, you're up again. Do you have any voice left?
I don't know. So you guys were provided in your board enclosures a pre-audit communication to the Board of Education. This is just a typical communication that that our auditors provide the Board of Education prior to beginning the pre-audit. Our pre-audit starts like next week. Our full audit is scheduled for the first week of September. Other than that, this will not be coming back, as this is just communication to you guys from the auditors.
Thank you. Out of curiosity, are they doing this mostly virtual again this year, or are they coming back in the office?
They'll be more in the office than they were last year, but they're doing much of it virtual.
Okay, thank you. Any other? It's always bad asking that. Item 15, reports, South Lyon Education Foundation. Since Mr. Abate is not here.
I can speak about it. The foundation had its last meeting on May 12th. They were selected by the Lake Street Cruisin' as the recipient, nonprofit recipient. So the foundation received $1,000 for that organization that hosts the car shows downtown throughout the summer. So we're very appreciative of that. The foundation is working on kindergarten welcome kits. Each kindergartner coming into the district in the fall will receive a bag. So we are looking for donations for that and different sponsors. It will include a number of items, like a t-shirt for each incoming kindergartner to take a picture in through their time throughout the district, and items such as scissors, a book, just a number of great items for all of our kindergartners coming in, and a way to truly introduce them to the district. They will be announced, but the scholarships, the Perseverance Scholarship Awards were given to two seniors in the district, and the foundation continues to work on the therapy dog program, and the latest therapy dog was Hattie, who will be starting, I believe, fall of next year at Hardy. So the board will be paying for that and continues to raise funds to support that program, which has been extremely beneficial for the district. Encourage you, the social dogs have a Facebook page, Olive and Oakley, so they're very fun to watch and see interact in our community, and Hattie has had a couple of days out at Hardy that has gone exceptionally well.
Very good, thank you. Next item is public comments. Those of you that stuck around, would you like to make any additional comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Item 17 is correspondence. We've got through resignations and retirement, which we got to celebrate earlier tonight. Our last meeting of this, call it, school year, is Tuesday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. And that brings us to board comments. Mr. Leftwich, do you want to start?
Sure. I just want to congratulate all the retirees that were presented here tonight, or that spoke, and there's additional ones too, so congratulations to them too. I didn't add it all up, but I know it was well over 100 years of experience that we got to hear from tonight, and it was nice, and they'll be sorely missed, certainly. We wish them the best. Congratulations to our graduating seniors. I look forward to attending the graduation ceremonies coming up. Looking forward to something to celebrate. And, a continued thanks to all of our administrators, teachers, and support staff for continuing to persevere through this year for the ages, and less than 2 weeks away from a very well-deserved break.
Thank you. Mrs. Youngcliffe-Pierce?
I just want to thank the board for selecting me. I'm very excited for this opportunity to serve our community. My goal is to always make decisions that are in the best interest of our students while representing our community. I want to give a huge thank you to all of the retiring teachers. Several of those teachers were teachers at the high school when I attended, so over 20 years later, it's amazing to see them retire, and I wish them all the best in their future endeavors. I'm concerned about how the district is funded, and I would really like to work on a legislative agenda to help fix that fund balance. I mean, I was truly shocked. I knew that we were one of the lowest funded, but that is, the disparagement in funding throughout our state is unbelievable. And seeing those numbers, I really look forward to working with Ms. Witt on the Finance Committee, as well as the Legislative Committee, to hopefully start to make some changes in that, because our students should be, we want equality, but the funding, there's no way we can have equal education with that type of funding disparity. So, and I also want to thank the teachers who served our district, who have, and other educators who have sent us their resignations. Wish them all the best and where they're going in their future careers. And also, that pilot course sounds great, and I look forward to seeing how that can really help our students with, I think, skills that will help them in their education and in their future career. So looking forward to that. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Zertel?
Yes, I also want to extend my congratulations to all the teachers and staff that are retiring. They all have put in some wonderful years of service, and listening to the stories, I think they've made some great impacts on everybody in the district. So it's really great to see. Last week and this week are going to be very busy, but a very fun, very busy. Last week, I think we were in meetings every night doing board appointments. This week, every night, we are at some honors or graduation ceremony, which I look forward to. It will be a little bit more of leaky eyeballs on my part, since I know I have a senior, Mr. Dashner has a senior this year. I would like to extend a huge thank you and congratulations to the teachers that put on proms at both of the schools after an extraordinarily difficult and unprecedented and almost last-minute decisions based on guidelines and state requirements that we had to meet for these proms. The kids had a phenomenal time, and they looked fantastic. So, sorry, I'm still seeing my daughter in her dress. Oh my God, she looks so old. I want my 5-year-old back and start all over again. So, and I know I was a volunteer and helped set up the South Lyon High School up at Dunham Hills Golf Course, and the 2 teachers that ran with that did an outstanding job, and I don't know how much more I could say to them to just, they dealt with a lot, and they did a phenomenal job. Again, looking forward to this week. We got Honors Night at South Lyon East tomorrow night. We've got Honors Night Wednesday at South Lyon High School, and then we have the 2 graduations on Saturday, East in the morning at 10 and South Lyon High School at 6 o'clock. And then the fun all-night party for the seniors. Yeehaw. I will be tired. I'm also on the SANE committee at the high school, so I will be at Dave & Buster's all night long, watching the kids have a grand old time with mechanical bulls, lots of food, and hypnotist shows. And then, school's almost out. Thank goodness. So everybody, enjoy your summer. Take some time to just relax, have a great time, and just put it out of your minds for a couple of weeks, and then we get to jump back in again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tell. Mr. Kennedy.
I will echo everything that my colleague said. I won't go into any more detail because you've all said everything that I would have said. The one thing I will add, thanks to Mr. Archibald for being present at the multitude of events that have been going on, whether they be sports events, performances, everything else that many of us have attended. And I will neither confirm nor deny that you saw me cry when my daughter sang at the choir concert at the high school. I look forward to, yeah, I'm right here with Jenny, just about losing it. Look forward to a safe, positive end to the school year, a safe graduation and all-night party, or what they call all-night event. All-night event.
Yes.
Back in my days, it was the all-night party.
Yeah. Can't have a cool acronym though with that. You have to have.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations to our retirees, well deserved. That's all I can think of. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. There's not much new I have to say. I will say congratulations to all the retirees that we had, especially the ones we had here tonight. I always enjoy hearing the stories about their careers at South Lyon District and just, the impact they make. It's just amazing. Hurts to lose them, but I'm happy for them that they get to enjoy their retirement, the fruits of all their hard years worth of work. Happy that the proms went off well. By all accounts, they were great. I know my daughter had a great time at the one for East. It sounded like the venue was just absolutely amazing. And strangely enough, no one danced. They all played games instead. Girls in prom dresses throwing cornhole. So. I would have thought. But like Jenny and like Mr. Tell said, we've got the honors nights coming up. I look forward to being at both of those, seeing the honor students come across the stage, and then both the graduations coming this weekend, and keeping the fingers crossed for good weather, followed by a SANE event. Hopefully keeps them entertained all evening, and hopefully I don't have to smack anyone as security there in the first shift. And that is all I have. We'll see everyone June 22nd for our next meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if anyone's ready to leave.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Leftwich, support by Mr. Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, but can I say one thing? And I probably should have brought this up, but I assumed that when you guys all made your comments,